I'm a healer, but written by Yellowleader on AO3 and read by Heo Stories. This video is going to contain chapter 31 through 37 um, as my 50 subscriber special. So let's see how long this is going to be. Chapter 31. Tommy's curled up on the couch when he hears the front door open. He knew it was coming. Phil texted him that they were on the way back, just like he promised. But he's still bracing himself a little. He's got news to tell them, after all. Techno is the first through the door, and Tommy is halfway off the couch to greet him when he realizes he's carrying Fundy. He gets completely out of the way as Techno approaches and sets Fundy down on the couch. Being out of the way doesn't last long, and Tommy immediately idles up to Techno. What? Phil didn't tell me something happened. It didn't, Techno says gruffly, and Funny winces, squeezing his eyes even more shut. Techno lowers his voice to talk further. His power is giving him a migraine. Tommy immediately grabs Funny's hand and watches him relax as Tommy soothes the pain. It takes him a minute to process what Techno said. What power? I didn't know he had one. I didn't. Funny huffs, eyes still closed. Tommy frowns a little, but, well, Funny actually the right age to get powers, if not a little old. Tommy is the old one out, getting his powers so young, but it still seems kind of weird that they just showed up out of nowhere, apparently. Tommy doesn't stop healing him. It's strange. He keeps getting bursts of pain, like a new headache is developing every few seconds. What the hell is Funny's powers even doing? The time between bursts is slows, and then stops, just as the rest of the crew walk in, carrying the bags. Wilbur immediately drops his, hard enough that Tommy can hear something crack inside, and he rushes over to the couch. How are you feeling, Starlight? Better, Funny says, peeking his eyes open and then starting to sit up. Thanks, Tommy. Tommy drops his hand, holding a bundle of cornflowers. You, want to talk about it? Wilbur frowns. Give him a minute. He's had these headaches for days now. Dad, Funny says, a little sharply, and Wilbur flinches. Don't answer for me. Right? Wilbur murmurs immediately, stepping back. I'm sorry, Funny. Ooh, someone's on Funny's shit list. Tommy was definitely 100% right about what eternity costs, huh? And after what happened a few days ago, Tommy really needs someone else to have a little problem for once, just to get his mind off his own. So he pokes at Funny a bit. So, you are immortal now, or whatever? Wilbur narrows his eyes, about to interrupt again, but Funny answers before he can. I mean, yeah, it just came with the deaths of, oh, I don't know, hundreds of people on a fucking murder island, he says, voice getting high pitched. You know, like you do. And as soon as I balked at the idea of casting some weird old magic that kills everyone within a few miles, I started getting horrible visions about whatever they did for my dad to hand pick them to get murdered. Starlight, Wilbur says, trying to be soothing, but Fundy steamrolls over him. I had to actually do it to make the vision stop. And as I asked Grandpa, I don't even remember what I asked, but I couldn't even hear the answer because of a new vision, and it turns out I can't turn it off. So whatever I have a question, or what I want to know something enough, my brain just gives me the fucking answer no matter how fucked up it is, or how horrible of a headache it gives me. We can get at our hands on power suppressants for you, Wilbur promises him. Tommy, you'll help him until then, right? He asks, almost begging. Duh. But not for Wilbur's sake, obviously. Fundy lets out another wince, and Tommy reaches out again. Quackity has some suppressants, I think, and he owes me. He owes you? Phil asks, the first word since walking into the house. Yeah. Tommy drops more flowers onto the pile on the ground. This is going to be annoying. He doesn't even like cornflowers all that much. What is he supposed to do with them? Long story short, Charlie got hurt enough for Big Q to ask me for help. Boo and Tubbs up with me. I saved Charlie's life, maybe, and now Big Q owes me a second life debt or something. Second? Tommy perks up. Oh shit, wait, guess what? He doesn't wait for them to guess. Q actually got my disc back for me. The room goes quiet for a moment. Another then Fundy hissing as he is afflicted with another sharp pain. Oddly, he's the first to speak. Eh, what? What? Sapnap? Oh, fuck, visions. Yep, Sapnap had connections to help me get them back. Tommy squeezes Fundy's hand hard enough to hurt. A silent shut up. Fundy hears it, not saying anymore. I haven't listened to them yet, but they aren't scratched or anything, so they should be fine. Techno goes lets out a quiet, annoyed noise. Right. Good for you. Tommy isn't going to question that. Or at least, not right now. Techno should be happy for him, but also it sounds like all four of them had a rough few days, so fine, he's in a bad mood, whatever. What really matters is, so you old fucks have a right to play around somewhere, right? Oh, right. Phil murmurs. Wilbur, you have one in your room, don't you? Yeah. Wilbur smiles, and Tommy feels disappointed for some reason, which isn't right at all. He should be the opposite of disappointed. That's good fucking news. He wants to listen to his so. Oh, is Wilbur disappointed? And just slinging his feelings around again? Fucking dickhead! I'll go get it. He disappears down the hall, and Funny sighs, getting to his feet. I'm going to my room, he says, and tries to let go of Tommy's hand. Tommy holds on a little tighter. Wait, can't you hang around a little longer? I mean, I can't keep healing your headaches and shit, but I want to listen to my disc, so. Funny sighs. Thanks, but I think I'm going to take some ibuprofen and try not to think about anything for a few hours. You don't have to keep healing me. I mean, okay, but can you stick around for a song or two? He knows it's a weird thing to ask, maybe even sort of fucks up, considering it's Fundy's dad's music. His dad, who kind of on a shit list right now, but. Okay. Admitting out loud that he's afraid of the syndicate changing really made him face it. He knows it's because of Dream, because of his own trauma, and that it's not even that likely. He's already offered to be the healing for all his natural lifespan. There's no reason for them to claim that they see him as family, and if they didn't mean it. Not when they're off thousand and other routes they could have taken, bribery, threats, blackmail, no one's first choice of trick is going to be offer to be family. At least no one except Dream trying to scam an elementary school student. No, his paranoia is just based around his own fucking stupid issues around his family. Even knowing that, he can't trust them. It seems fucking crazy after all. Who the fuck would want Tommy? But he wants to trust them. And the first step is being a little open, maybe. Letting himself be honest. Like admitting he wants to listen to his this. The most important things in the world to him. With all of them. Maybe except Wilbur, but even Tommy knows it'd be a dick move to kick him out only, especially if it's borrowing his record player. Fundy falls back onto the couch and reaches up, clutching a little at his head so hard his claws dig into it. Tommy grabs him by the wrists, healing as he pulls them away. This is a bad one, a painful and long. But when it's over, Fundy looks at him blearily. Yeah, he says weakly. Man, Tommy really wants to ask what the fuck Fundy just saw. He probably doesn't want to know. Wilbur returns, hauling a record player that's clearly too heavy for him, and Phil goes to help carry it to the coffee table as Techno steps out of the room, holding his phone. He's probably calling Quackity about suppressors, if Tommy had to guess. But that's barely even on his mind right now. Tommy drops Funny's hand and the was between them. I'll grab Tubbo and Rambo and the disc off fucking obviously. I'll be right back. He goes out of the room before anyone can respond, boarding down the hall and up into the extension. Tommy doesn't hesitate to kick Tubbo's door open. It's left slightly ajar for just this reason, after all. Tubbs! Hey, Tubbs greets him, not looking away from his laptop. Rambo looks up from where he's reading on Tubbo's bed. Tommy grabs the bag of Tubbo's hair and starts rolling it towards the door, ignoring Tubbo's annoyed shout, "Come on, everyone's back and we're listening to this." Tommy waves at Rambo, gesturing for him to follow, and he quickly sets his book aside to do so. I was in the middle of a project. It can wait, come on. I haven't been able to actually listen to them in years. Tommy says, almost bouncing as Tubbo finally gets out of his chair. He shoves the chair aside and steps into the hall, stopping in his own room to grab the items of the hour. Rambo hums. Sorry, what are the discs again? They are the most important things in existence, boo. Tubbo sighs and links his arm with Rambo's. They're records, back before I knew who my dad was. They were the only thing I had of his. And then Tommy left our foster home. I gave it to him. A sign of our undying friendship, Tommy says, letting out a happy chirp at the end. Of course, it fucking turns out Wilbur was suitings, and so he's all happy that I like his music or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's all about Tubbo, really. Okay, pretend you didn't cry the first time you heard Jubilee line. Fuck off and die, Tommy says cheerfully as he leads them back to the living room. Wilbur, unfortunately, is beaming. What was that about Jubilee line? Fuck off and die, repeats, less cheerfully. And he ignores Wilbur's face falling as he goes to put on Your City Gave Me Asthma. The living room is crowded now. There's only so much space on the couch, just enough to fit an uncomfortable Fundy on one end and Tubbo and Rambo on the other. And there's only two armchairs, quickly claimed by Phil and Techno. At least Will will complain when he realizes he just lost musical chairs, but Tommy hisses at him the second the first song starts. Tommy immediately squeezes his way onto the couch as it plays, and he drops his head on Tubbo's shoulder as they all listen. The last time he got to listen to the discs was all the way back at the farm. Tubbo had a way to play them, and an older girl had taken it on herself to save up to buy the cheapest, crappiest record player she could find. She liked music too, anyway, and she was happy to have an excuse to get one for herself. When she left, the record player went with her, but Tommy and Tubbo had already listened to the records enough times to have their favorite songs memorized. Then, at Dreams, there wasn't a record player. At first, it was excused. It wasn't safe for Dream to go out just to get Tommy a record player. They had to find the expensive, and then it was that Tommy wasn't good enough to earn a record player. Then it was that his discs were made by a fucking monster, a murderer, the thing that hurt Dream and made him come home with new wounds Tommy had to sew up. And Tommy was lucky that Dream even let him keep the discs. And soon he didn't even have that. But he has them now. He has his discs. He has something to play them on. He has Tubbo. More than that, he has his flock. And the three others in the room. Kind of a mixed bag of emotions on those guys. Well, Funny's fine. Funny's good, actually. He didn't rat out Sapnap, even though he clearly found out something from whatever vision he had. And he's never actually done anything wrong. Besides, they dream, but then Tommy would be wrong for letting himself get adopted right in the dream, which wasn't his fault, so uh, he hates thinking things through like this. Can't he just stop trying to blame himself for stupid shit so he can just move on with his day? Anyways, Fundy's great. Feels unsettling. Maybe it's just that he's avian, but it's probably more than about the whole Phil wants Tommy to be his kid thing. Because that's fucking weird. Or it's just his brain, which, okay, sure, he is a bird. Tommy's a bird. He wants to adopt a bird. Cool, cool, cool. But Phil doesn't have the fucked up instinct melt thing that Tommy has. When his instincts back off, his thing for adopting Tommy should too. But Phil wasn't in his instincts when they were having their whole secret midnight meeting about whatever or not they'd offered Tommy eternity. So it's something Tommy's struggling with. Because as a kid, he was always a fucking nightmare to potential parents. They would take anyone over the loud kid who yelled and chirped and didn't have common sense. He knew how to swear and he knew how to cause problems. And the only nice thing anyone could ever say about him was, well, he takes good care of animals. Parents didn't want him. He should have guessed something was wrong when Dream showed up and liked him right away. No, he shouldn't have. That's stupid. He's a kid who wants to be loved. Why would he have ever guessed Dream was doing that? Back on topic. It's unnatural for him to think that Phil would want him to be his son or whatever. but he knows that's just not a facet of his fucked up childhood getting to him, and it shouldn't be unnatural, but knowing it's wrong doesn't make it easier to get past. So, Phil is not a person that's just hard to handle. And Wilbur. Fucking Wilbur. Tommy peeks his eyes open, and for just a moment, he catches Wilbur staring at him. Wilbur with unrestrained joy on his face as he watches Tommy listen to his music almost as fast as he's been caught. Wilbur is looking in another direction, pretending to all the world that it was never happening. Back when he first got here, after Wilbur stole his shit, Tommy tried to ignore him. Still, it was impossible to ignore the way Wilbur played his music, with his bedroom door open just a little cracked, enough for the music to make its way to the living room. Tommy would follow that trail of sound, standing in the hall to listen to it at its clearest. All the things, while coming up with excuses in his head in case someone called him. It was familiar, even if he didn't know all the songs Wilbur played. The music reminded him of Turbo, even if the memory of his lost friend hurt him at the time. And it filled him with a sense of longing he desperately tried to shove down. Still, he listened anyways. And now he's listening now. Because the music Wilbur makes, it's important to him. He doesn't want it to be, not now that he knows who Soothings is. Not when Wilbur betrayed him over and over. I love you, Sunflower. I promised you'd be safe and happy here. Remember? It's not fair to call that a betrayal. Tommy just didn't want to hear it, and it hurt. After Wilbur swore he wanted to make Tommy happy, that he'd still say something that scared him. But Wilbur didn't know. He didn't fucking get it, and that's not his fault. It's Tommy's for being so fucked up. And if he wasn't, wouldn't that have been nice? Wouldn't he have been happy? I love you from someone claiming to be his family? Like brothers. Wouldn't it be nice? It's not like Dream ever said it. Fuck. He's not even sure if Tubbo has ever said it so blatantly. Even though he knows Tubbo loves him as much as Tommy loves him back. I love you. It's literally 3 words. Why is it so terrifying to hear? How does he make it stop being terrifying? He wants. He's trying, isn't he? He's trying to accept what they've said to him. What Wilbur said. That's part of it. So he has to accept it. So he has to stop being scared. He has to. He has to. It's just easier said than done. It shouldn't be as hard as talking to Sapnap. It's definitely going to be harder. Tommy glances at him again. This time, when Wilbur looks away, Tommy doesn't. And their eyes meet again. He's going to have to do it. But later, after the last song has played out. Chapter 32. Trigger warning, this chapter is about an attempt to self-harm, not mental health related. I'll put the summary at the end of the chapter. Go to the time stamps if you want to skip this chapter. The thing about Tommy saying he'll talk to Wilbur after the last song plays out is that all of time comes after the last song plays out. He didn't promise he'd talk to Wilbur right away, after all. After the last song plays out, there's tomorrow. Then the next day. And the next week, even. He could wait a year if he wanted, actually. Because it's always after the last song. It gives Tommy a good excuse to push it off. To ignore Wilbur's prodding, ignore the faint feeling of hope or hurt when Tommy reacts one way or another. They're never alone together. The house is fuller, busier, and there's no chance for it. Tommy's always with Fundy and the Quackity managed to get the suppressor over. Then Techno starts teaching him glasswork as he makes Tommy a brewing station for his future potion lessons. And then, and then, and then, it's been a week since he last healed Fundy, and the pain is back. Healing Charlie was important, but it was also so draining. It was like a strain pushing past his usual limits in a weird way. And then after healing Fundy constantly for days, the itch came on fast. Then the pain set in, and it's driving him crazy. He can't starve himself. Techno cooks for him whenever he is so much as suggests being hungry. Can't avoid sleeping when his frog sleeps with him in his nest half the time. Ranboo hasn't been crying. Tubbo hasn't blown himself up with redstone, so no one's getting hurt. It's a good thing, but he feels like his powers are scratching at his bones. It's deep and horrible, and every movement is tainted by the pull of his power as they demand to be used. It's sharp, but still horribly constant, and it only gets worse. It's been only a week. It's only been a week. It wakes him in the middle of the night, and he crawls out of bed away from Ranboo and Tubbo. They've been worried about him since the pain started to kick in, when he became more withdrawn to try and hide it. He refuses to acknowledge their concern, but they've been sticking especially close by, and they both fell asleep in the nest last night. It soothes him to see them safe in the nest, helps him ignore the desperate scratching hidden under his skin, but not for long. He needs something, he needs to heal. Tommy wants Techno to take him out again, to watch him carve bits and pieces of someone, so Tommy can sew them back together and watch it happen again and again. He wants to to find someone burning to death and run his hands over bubbling skin. He wants blood and gore and whatever it takes to make this stop. There's a knife in the kitchen. The same knife Wilbur used to carve up his own arm, he thinks. Though it's not like he'd know for sure. He was pretty distracted at the time, after all, because Wilbur hurt himself for Tommy's sake. When Wilbur picked up the knife, Tommy was suddenly right back in Dream's apartment. Dream never deliberately cut him like that, but it wasn't uncommon for him just to happen to be holding something sharp when Tommy was bad. And Tommy was being bad now. Techno told him not to starve himself, but he did anyway, so the pain wouldn't come back, and Wilbur had a knife and it was going to hurt. and Wilbur dragged it along his own skin, the blood beating up, and for a long moment, Tommy just stared. Because why would he do that? Why would he hurt himself just because Tommy needed to heal? But Wilbur dropped the knife, and a poppy bloomed under Tommy's hand, and his powers settled under his skin. Wilbur isn't here now, but Tommy and the knife are. He picks it up, hands shaking slightly as he holds it to his arm, the same place Wilbur had cut on himself. He doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to hurt, and part of him might laugh later at how he's doing this alone in the dead of night like a wrong and hiding a crime. But right now, he just needs it to stop. Stop. A voice comes from behind him, and it's fear like he's never felt before. Worse than the constant dread of being betrayed. Worse than the first time Wilbur called him his brother. Worse than dream threatening him and revive him until he's broke and finally obeyed him. It's fear like he's dying. Like he's already dead. He would scream if he could breathe, but he can't. His lungs frozen, and he's frozen, and maybe he is dead. Maybe this is all there, and it's unending, and he will never be free, always terrified beyond words. Maybe this is eternity. Tommy gasps for air when it recedes, wobbling involuntarily as soon as he physically can. Flock, help! Scared, scared, help! You're safe. I'm here, Flock, sings back, and he chirps desperately, almost flailing as he reaches out. His hands are empty, the knife's gone somehow, but hands take his, and he's pulled close, arms wrapping around him. His heart pounds as the tarot slowly fades. He grabs at whatever pieces of awareness he can find. He's on the ground. He's shaking too much to stand. Did he collapse? He's being held safe, safe, like nest. He chirps again and again. Flock, flock, flock. And the arms hold him tighter. Safe, safe, safe. Flock sings again. And he goes boneless and he feels so much, too much. Relief and joy and comfort and fear and fear and fear and wonder, and he can't breathe. His brain is screaming at the assault of feelings that aren't his. Help. He wobbles again. And it stops. Everything stops. Tommy is on the ground. He's shaking too much to stand. He's being held. It's quiet, except for his own sobbing breaths, except for someone else's shaky breathing. The floor is cold, cold enough to feel even through his jeans. The pain still claws at him, still rips at his insides. But it's nothing compared to what he just felt. Sunflower, Flock holding him says, sounding close to tears, I'm so sorry. Wilbur needs to stop apologizing to him. Oh fuck. Tommy forces his eyes open, and it's exactly what he thought. Wilbur is the Flock holding him, keeping him safe from himself. It was his powers that made Tommy so fucking terrified. It was him, and now Tommy is clinging to him back. The horrible bird part of his brain calling Wilbur safe. Because Tommy was so scared, the bird drowned him and out, and now he's you son of a bitch. He chokes out, tightening his grip on Wilbur's sweater. You, you just, you, you're going to hurt yourself, Tommy. I didn't mean to. Wilbur lets out a miserable warble in return, and Tommy almost chirps to soothe him back. Like he wants to calm him, like he's going to kill him. He's going to kill him. You're about to hurt yourself. I was just trying to stop you. I didn't mean to share my fit. Tommy freezes, and Wilbur coos. You're safe, you're safe, you're safe. But that wasn't Wilbur's fear. Why would Wilbur be so scared? How could Wilbur be so scared? How could anyone? It was so overwhelming, so devastating. How could any living being feel that without immediately breaking down? But Wilbur is breaking down. He's holding Tommy so tight, like he's precious. Like he'll disappear if Wilbur lets go. He rocks them both back and forth, cooing and chirping whatever comforts he can get through his own obvious panic. Because Tommy scared him. Because Tommy hurting himself scared him. Tommy takes a shaking breath, and then another. He feels like he's going to pass out. I, my powers, he whispered. It hurts. I wanted to, like you did, just not to heal to make it hurt less. Wilbur warbles again. I'm scared, and Tommy? Something small and dark in Tommy rears its head. Just a little, he continues. It hurts, Wilbur. It was just going to cut a little. It wouldn't have been too deep. Wilbur trembles and Tommy ducks down, hiding his face in Wilbur's shoulder. Just a small cut, a little blood. I wouldn't die. Wilbur chirps in a way that Tommy has only heard from himself. Flock, it sings, but it's followed with, don't die. Be Don't be hurt. Flock, be safe. Flock, I love you. If Wilbur is going to fuck Tommy up like this, then Tommy can do the same right back. He was supposed to be better, wasn't he? He was figuring out his feelings. He was picking apart his trauma. He was recovering. But he needed more time to fix things with Wilbur, and Wilbur took that from him by terrorizing him. By making him so scared and desperate, he claimed Wilbur as Flock. This isn't healthy, and it's not how it's supposed to go. But right now, he doesn't care. I'm safe. Tommy chirps back. We're safe. It's not long before Wilbur comes back to himself. His instincts withdrawn. Even when the warbles and chirps stop, though, he doesn't let go. Not yet. Tommy, he says, his voice raw. What? Why didn't you tell anyone? We would fix it. We'd get you someone to heal. Why would you? Tommy keeps resting his head on Wilbur's shoulder. It's dumb, he mumbles. It's not dumb, it's important. No, he interrupts. My reason's dumb. I just. Tommy lets it trail off, Wilbur's question unanswered. Wilbur's sacrifice kept coming to mind, his willingness to hurt himself to soothe Tommy's pains. No one's ever done something like that before. Especially not when he didn't even ask for it. And now it feels pathetic to ask for it. Even if Techno probably would cut himself for Tommy, even if Rambo could easily be brought to tears that would burn his face, it wouldn't be genuine. Not like Wilbur did. He hates Wilbur because Wilbur makes him want. He wants someone who wants him, someone willing to make sacrifices for him, someone who looked at him at the moment they met and wanted him, genuinely wanted him, who watched him through his worst moments of fear and rage and still thought him worthy of being family, of being his brother. He wants to erase Dream from his mind. He wants someone to fill the gap Dream left. And he knows Wilbur would fit it so easily, so much better. A brother. One that was always there for him, even before they met. When Tommy only knew his singing voice. Shout at the wall, 'cause the walls don't fucking love you. He wants so badly. He's greedy. Dream told him whenever he wanted something, but now it feels like greed is good because Wilbur would give him what he wanted. Wilbur would be his brother. He'll hold him like this, he'll sing, he'll love Tommy. He'll give Tommy the fucking rules, he thinks, and even now, Wilbur reaches for the knife and he digs it into his own leg. Alpi's bloom under Tommy's hands and his flog's blood spill onto the kitchen floor. And he laughs with relief as his pain and Wilbur's fade together. The summary. Tommy has put off talking to Wilbur and, unrelated, he hasn't told anyone about how the pain from not using his powers is back. It hurts so bad. In the middle of the night, he sneaks off to hurt himself in the kitchen just to be able to heal himself. Wilbur catches him before he can and accidentally overwhelms him with fear. It's so overwhelming that Tommy calls out for Flog. And when Wilbur answers, Tommy accidentally claims it as his own Flog. Tommy is furious when he realizes and manages to deliberately upset Wilbur into doing the same back. Tommy admits only to himself that he hates Wilbur because Wilbur makes him want a brother to replace Dream. He's actually considering it. And now, funny author note, Wilbur, I follow you in the kitchen at night. What you doing? Tommy, can my arm in front of you to forever change our bond and the trajectory of our lives? Chapter 33. Tommy isn't surprised when someone else enters the kitchen. In fact, he's more surprised that no one came earlier. He's sure the chirping or warbling wasn't too quiet to be heard from the bedrooms. Still, they must be a fucking sight. Wilbur isn't bleeding anymore, but his pants are splattered with dark red and there's a small puddle of blood underneath him. The knife has been tossed aside, no longer needed, and his strained hands have returned to holding Tommy close. And Tommy's letting him, which is probably even weirder. Baby! A screech comes from the door, and Tommy idly rolls his head to look. Phil is frozen, his wings spread too wide to even fit through the door. He looks terrified. Safe, don't worry, Tommy chirps back tiredly. And he starts to pull away from Wilbur. No, he tries, anyway. Wilbur refuses to let go of him. It's. I'm fine, Wilbur tries to reassure Phil. Little, a little accident in the kitchen, but Tommy fixed me right up. Tommy hums in agreement. Phil doesn't need to know any more than that. The reassurance is at least enough for Will to lower his wings, though he immediately rushes to their sides, kneeling down in the blood. What happened? How did you get hurt? Were you stabbed in the leg? What happened? Tired. Be quiet. Tommy twitters in complaint, and Phil listens. Couldn't sleep, so Will, it's fine now, fuck off. He leans into Wilbur even more, his instincts displeased with having another avian around his flock, and Tommy's human brain is almost equally annoyed. It's too quiet, actually, and when he glances up, Phil is eyeing him with concern. You're communicating more? He says cautiously, not quite a question. Or more effectively, he at least. How did you learn that? Learn what? Well, I guess you wouldn't notice it. Philhams, I guess you could say you're speaking avian a little more fluently. That's a bit of a simplification, really, since it's meant to be ingrained into your instinct, but, well, you normally chirp a little more, like a baby bird. Wilbur chokes weakly, his voice strained from before. You chirp like a toddler demanding whatever it wants. Well, you did? Wilbur quickly corrects. Now it's more like speaking full sentences. Tommy looks between them both. Well, what the fuck does that mean? Wilbur grins at him, not holding back his excitement in the slightest. If I had to guess in my ultimate wisdom, shut up, mate. It's probably because you've matured. Aw, my little sunflower's grown up. Tommy hisses at him. If birds can swear, that's a swear in there somewhere. What? Just fucking out of nowhere? Like a Pokemon evolution? Like a what? Phil asks. Wilbur seems a little lost too. Fucking ancient, both of you. What? I just became an adult bird out of nowhere. Nothing fucking happened. Well, Wilbur says, voice too smug, and Tommy is about to hiss again, but he's a second too late. You did let an avian into your flock. Maybe your instincts are content that you're spending time with your own instead of fuck off and die. Tommy forcefully drags himself out of Wilbur's arms, ignoring how his flock huffs at it. I'm going to strangle my fucking brain if it keeps pulling weird shit like that. You what? Phil asked quietly before turning to look at Wilbur. He what? Wilbur smirks, annoyingly proud of himself. He shouldn't be, considering what a mess he just was. And it puts Tommy a little on edge. I'm the favorite now. No, the fuck you're not. Tommy snaps at him. Rankings of my flock. He holds a hand up as high as he can. Turbo. He puts it a tad lower. Everyone else. He touches the ground. You, bitch. I'm the favorite. Wilbur insists to Phil. Phil just looks upset, which Tommy still does not fucking care for. But I thought he cuts himself up with a deep breath. Right, well, I'm happy for you too. Aww. Wilbur teases lightheartedly. Are you jealous, Phil? Tommy snorts, amused, but quickly realizes Wilbur isn't actually joking. Phil isn't even denying it. He's just trying to change the subject. Are you sure your leg's alright, Will? You didn't lose too much blood. Wilbur answers him easily, obviously appeasing him, but Tommy isn't really listening. It's a little fucked up, maybe, to be happy that someone's jealous of him. That Phil is upset that Tommy is letting other people into his flock instead of him. And again, it's more fucked up that he just forced Wilbur's instinct into recognizing him as flock. But you know what? Wilbur deserved that, so fuck it. But Phil, Phil, the fucking angel of death, Phil, this total soft-hearted loser who apparently saw Tommy as a fledgling before they even realized Tommy was a bird. Phil, who's jealous of his own kids because he wants to be in Tommy's flock. Or for Tommy to join his, he's not sure how merging flocks would work, or if it does at all. Is Wilbur part of two flocks now? Or did Tommy just steal him like he did Techno? Whatever, he'll figure it out later. Anyway, does he want Phil in his flock? His instincts don't, he thinks. He doesn't like having other avians around. He only accepted Wilbur because he was terrified and didn't know what was happening. It wasn't something he or the bird brain wanted. Still, is it kind of a dick move to leave Phil out? And is it wrong if he wants to leave things like this so he'll keep feeling wanted? Phil doesn't want a healer the same way Dream did, the same way Wilbur does, at least. Tommy doesn't think so. Phil wanted a healer to make Wilbur happy, but it wasn't all encompassing. This, Phil being jealous of a flock, it's different. It's about Tommy, who Tommy is. It's impossible to believe. He wants so badly, but he also wants to push it, wants to make this last, to feel important because of himself and not his power, so he'll just let things stay as they are for now. Just a little bit. Fundy stumbles through the door to the kitchen, tightly before freezing in place. Phil has knelt down, checking on Wilbur, and the blood is still everywhere. And Tommy is just staring into space, so there's probably a side. Uh, did I miss something? Well, Tommy can't leave things where they are with Phil. He raised a hand, pointing at Fundy. You, get over here. Fundy blinks, pointing at himself in confusion, and then, when Tommy nods, he slowly approaches. The avians in the room are quiet and curious, at least until Tommy shifts to his feet and fucking tackles him with all his energy he can muster. Funny yelps, terrified. And Tommy chirps. It's easy this time. Like with Ranboo, letting someone into his flock not because he's scared or overwhelmed, because he wants them there. And he does want Fundy in his flock. Fundy's nice, in a weird way. In an honest way. He's not one out the way Tommy is, even though he's been here his whole life and Tommy's so new, but it's fine. If Fundy's in his flock, then he's not out. He's one of them. Plus, he made fucking Minecraft. And also, it makes Phil even more upset, more jealous. Yeah, what? He's a fox, Tommy. That's. He cuts himself off with another deep breath. Alright, why don't you all clear out of the kitchen and I'll clear the floor? It's not really a question. He's tempted to push it further, and he almost does, but he's still tired. Healing may not exhaust him, but he still hasn't slept yet. Wilbur grasps both him and Fundy and drags them out of the living room. He's almost vibrating with energy. Sunflower, what was that? Fundy asks. Well, I mean, I guess I know, but I don't. Tommy slaps his back hard enough to make him stumble. You're fucking up, bitch. So is your dad, actually. Even though he sucks and I didn't want him to be. Wilbur lets out a hurt noise, and Tommy ignores it, even as his instincts flare up. Don't let Flog be sad. Why did you upset Flog? Make it better. What? Fundy sounds even more confused, and suddenly, Tommy's scared again. Not like earlier, when Wilbur fucking mind ruined him and he thought he was dying, but scared like he has been before. When he realized he wasn't good enough for Dream or his friends. When he thought that no one cared about him, like Fundy doesn't want to be his flock. How did he not think of that? How did he not consider it? Why would Fundy want to be his flock anyway? Tommy thought it'd be weird because Fundy is Dream's ex, but it's got even weirder for Fundy to be flocked with his ex's little brother. Of course he wouldn't want to. Of course Tommy isn't good enough to overcome that. Why did Tommy even make himself attached to someone who doesn't care about him? Help! He chirps, and without thinking, he takes a step closer to Wilbur, the safety, the comfort to his flock. His flock that he stole, that he played victim to. So an already scared Wilbur would slip deeper into his instincts, so he'd be forced to see Tommy as flock. Tommy's so selfish, so self-absorbed, so... Not really, Theo. You don't appreciate what anyone else does for you. I'm sorry, Tommy whispers. What? This time it's Wilbur who speaks up, but Tommy doesn't know how to answer that. You should be grateful you have a safe home. A house in the middle of the woods where no one can get him. People that feed you make sure you have what you need. Techno bringing him meals. Phil buying him clothes and furniture and nesting material. And you still want more all the time, man. I'm working so hard to make sure you have a good life. I get hurt every fucking day. Bob was slicing his arms open, stabbing his leg just for Tommy's sake. You're greedy, you're insatiable. Can't you just shut up and appreciate what people do for you? Tommy? From the ass, quiet, still confused. I didn't. I was trying to say it's. I'm sorry. Well, Tommy says again, squeezing his eyes shut. That's not good enough an apology. Dream would never accept it. He needs to be better. Something is hitting the door. Someone's talking, but he can't focus on anything but apologizing right now. I'm I'm sorry for being self-absorbed and greedy, and I'll work with it. I'm sorry. I can't take it back what I've already. I'm sorry. Distantly, he's aware that Wilbur is chirping, holding him, trying to comfort him, but it's Fundy he's apologizing to. It's Fundy who needs to accept his pathetic excuse for an apology. Or not. Probably not. God. Tommy fucked up. Fundy is just staring back at him, looking almost alarmed for some reason. I don't know. Uh, Tommy doesn't notice for a moment too long that Fundy is playing with his power suppressor, not until Fundy slips it off and pockets it. Almost immediately, Fundy's knees buckle, and Wilbur almost shoves Tommy out of his arms to catch Fundy before he can hit the floor. It makes Tommy wince, but he gets it. He's only a few steps behind as he reaches out to take Fundy's arm and starts healing yet again. The waves of pain come fast and hard, Funny almost bending in half as he claws at his head. Tommy, he doesn't know why Funny did this. He wanted to know something, obviously, but it's not worth it. Tommy doesn't fucking get it, and he needs to. He needs to know what Funny's thinking so he knows how to handle it, how to apologize right so he won't get hurt. Wait, when did he start thinking that Fundy would hurt him? Why would Fundy hurt him? Even if Tommy pissed him off by making him flog, which only affects Tommy, not Fundy in any way. Fundy's never been violent, not towards him, not at all. He's the member of his family that's the least likely to even raise a hand towards Tommy, let alone actually hurt him. Oh, Tommy's just freaking out again. It's fucking humiliating when the realization sets in. He was doing better, wasn't he? He was accepting help from his flock. He was trying to trust the syndicate and wasn't trying to use him. But Fundy finds it weird for a second that Tommy made him flock and Tommy immediately fucking spiraled. Is he backsliding? Is he just too fucking tired to handle his own emotions? He has no fucking clue, but did he really have to embarrass himself in front of the both of them like that? Cringe. Funny. Put put it put it back on. Tommy mumbles. Sorry, I freaked out for a second. It's fine now, but put it back on so you don't need to. Fundy just digs his claws in further, enough that Tommy will have to heal that too before the pain finally wanes and Tommy can heal him completely. Fundy's hands drop to his lap and he looks up at Tommy, looking almost blank. Well, flock, he says simply. Tommy doesn't know how to respond to that. Uh, I mean, I see you as flock, but you don't have to. We're flock, Funny says again as he fishes out the power suppressor. Dad? Yes, Starlight? Funny asks worriedly, still holding Funny uptight. Can you ask Grandpa to make, I think blueberry pancakes? Wilbur immediately gets to his feet. Of course, whatever you want. He's out of the door in an instant. As soon as he's gone, Fundy turns back to Tommy, fidgeting with his power suppressants again. Tommy, I just saw a lot of things. Ah, fuck. Dream being awful and I don't want to know. Tommy cuts him off, his voice getting higher than he liked, but he clears his throat. I don't I don't want to know what you saw. I mean, it's fuck. I'm fine now, right? And I saw what you did to Dad. Tommy freezes. You you messed with his instinct, right? I'm sorry. Tommy tries to interrupt again, but Fondy keeps talking over him. You tried to make him imprint, and you know he wanted to do the same to you, right? Tommy blinks at that. What? He. Fondy sighs. Dad wanted to be your flock. He would have done it, that whether you did that or not. If you didn't imprint on him, he would think he'd really tried to find a way to make you. Well, that's. It's not fair to call it horrifying since he already did it to Wilbur, at least. Not until he accepts that what he did was horrifying, but if Wilbur wanted to be flock anyway, which Tommy kind of knows he did, even if it's hard to believe, it's fine. It's too late to worry about what Wilbur would have or wouldn't have done. Um, Look, Funny continues. You feel bad about that and Uncle Techno, right? And now because you made me flock too, but I don't mind. I just needed a minute to process what you were saying, I guess, but I didn't mean to make you. Well, flock. I am happy you see me that way, honestly. I kind of thought I'd be the last one, if anything, so. Tommy swallows hard, trying not to get too emotional. I didn't. You act like you're the odd one out in your family. You're not, and I just. I didn't want you to think that you're. If. He hesitates. If this is. If this is will be my family too someday, Fundy's eyes go wide, then you're part of it. An important part. Plus, I like you better than Wilbur anyway, so I shouldn't have let him be flogged before you. Oh, Fundy says faintly, but they're interrupted before the conversation can continue. Phil's already make. Wilbur stops in the doorway. Am I interrupting? He doesn't seem inclined to stop interrupting from the way he hovers in the doorway. Fondy is equally disinclined to continue, apparently. Making what? He asks, voice faint, as he starts to get to his feet. Waffles and hash browns, Wilbur says after a long moment, staring at Fondy. Is everything alright, you see? Dad, Fondy says, a little sharply, and Wilbur frowns but drops it. He heads back down to the kitchen, and Fondy follows, but Tommy stays on the ground a little longer. He said it. This will be my family too, someday. He said it. He isn't scared. He is freaking out. He felt that maybe he could one day let himself see the syndicate as family, and he's okay. Tommy's okay. He takes a deep breath, letting it out slowly. And then again. His chest isn't tight, he isn't shaking, he's just thinking about having a family, and he's okay with it. He must be pretty exhausted to not have the energy to freak out. Or he's just relieved. Wilbur wanted to be his flock. Fondy's okay with it too. He has Techno and Tubbo and Ramble. All that's left is Phil. But that's not a problem for today. Tommy thinks as he gets to his feet. He's going to eat some waffles. He's going to go back to bed. And then, when he's well rested, then he'll think about what to do with Phil, where he wants to take things. Is Phil going to be his dad? Does Tommy want that? Does he even want Phil, or is he just completing the set? Does it even matter when he'll have all the time to know him, to know all of them if he accepts the offer, if he accepts being their family. He'll have forever to come to terms with the way they care about him, forever to learn skills from Techno and to listen to Wilbur sing, to play games with Fundy and to make fun of Phil. Eternity. Tommy doesn't think he's ever looked forward to the future before. But now? He thinks he can actually see it. And he wants nothing more than to grab it and never let go. A future he can pick for himself. He's making his choice. Alfred's notes. Tommy might fuck around and adopt someone else into my flock. Which of you is it gonna be? Phil. Shouldn't it be me? Tommy, pointing at Fundy. You, come closer. Chapter 34. Potion ingredients and empty bottles line the Techno's cabinet, and Tommy cocks his head as he looks through it. What am I looking for again, big man? Netherwort, golden carrots, and fermented spider eyes. It's all labeled. Techno answers as he hauls Tommy's brand new gilded brewing stand to his desk. He's in a weirdly good mood for him. And grab 3 empty bottles. Do not carry everything out all at once. You'll drop them. Tommy grumbles but makes multiple trips to bring the bottles and jars to the desk. He's pretty sure most of this shit is expensive or hard to get, so he's not gonna mess around too much. So, there's a lot of types of potions, right? What are you gonna make with this? He picks up a jar of fermented spider ice, swirling it around and watching the bulging, mutated orbs rotate. This is gonna be nasty, isn't it? Can't even taste them. Techno promises. Though it might be a lie. He picks up the bottles and fills them with water from a large jug. Here, the first step. You're gonna start be infusing the potion, not just mixing the raw ingredients together. So the bottle needs to be filled with water. That's universal. Every potion needs that. Tommy hums and watches as Techno pulls out a bright yellow powder, filling the center of the brewing stand with it. With a twist of a knob, the powder sparks and starts a fire beneath the potion. You you didn't say what you were making. Something you'll find fun. The second step of the potion, Netherwort. Techno gestures to the container and Tommy pops open the lid. Techno uses tweezers to pull out a piece and put it into the top of the stand. The blaze powder melts it, and it slowly drips into the tubes below. Every potion except weakness uses this. Weakness? Tommy's knowledge on potions is near zero. Heroes can sometimes use healing potions, he knows, but Dream didn't have to, so he doesn't think he's ever seen one. Besides that, he got nothing. Techno looks at him for a moment before realizing what he's asking. Oh, weakness does what it sounds like. Makes you weaker. Toss it at someone and they won't be able to stand. It also works as an extreme painkiller at the cost of not being able to move for a few minutes. Tommy hums. Okay, so we're not making that one. No, we're not. The brewing stand bubbles as the last of the melted netherwort drains. Next, we take our first ingredient, in this case, golden carrots. That goes into the top of the brewing stand as well, and Tommy crinkles up his nose in disgust as it also starts to melt and drip into the potions. There's no way this isn't going to be nasty. Shouldn't carrots be more, solid than that? He asks, and Techno chuckles. It's the blaze power mostly. You'll get used to it. Techno straightened one of the tubes, and the melted gold dribbles faster. Now, this will turn it into a potion of night vision. Perfect sight even in the darkest areas. He's never been so disappointed in his life. What? That's what I'm supposed to find fun? Well, I guess I could freak out Wilbur in the middle of the night. Not that he hasn't done that enough recently. You're forgetting about this. He holds up the jar of fermented spider eye. These corrupt potions. The fuck do you mean corrupt? It'll change the effect of most potions. Healing becomes harmon, swiftness becomes slowness. When the last of the golden carrot is gone, Techno drops in the spider eye. Or in this case, night vision becomes invisibility. Tommy stares at him, then down at the potion. Fuck scaring Wilbur. He's going to freak Sapnap out so bad he burns down the whole casino. You're kidding me. So, what, like, it only lasts 3 minutes. Techno wants up to 8 if you add some more redstone and the end of brewing it. I've been trying to find some alternate solution to extending the duration, but new magic isn't exactly my forte. I stick to the old stuff. Tommy frowns, eyeing the brewing stand again. Wait, this new magic? Techno pauses, looking at him. What do you think all potions were? He immediately bristles. How the fuck should I know? It's not like it came up in my homeschooling. Dream was never like have an extensive textbook on magic. He was just like, go learn some math and don't touch my magic shit. Me, I'm a bitch. And that he said that exactly like that. Tommy crosses his arms and scrunches into himself. Techno chuffs at him, and Tommy almost immediately relaxes a bit. Right. Yeah, potions on new magic. Sacrifice a few items and you get an effect. But it's short lived. With old magic, it'd be more like you could turn invisible at the price of never turning back, or something along those lines. He shrugs. Oh, I was never interested enough in it to look into the topic until potions became a bit more common knowledge. Right, because you were a bit too busy with carving wood into fucking magic, sure. Actually, that was during my embroidery phase, he says, it with a straight face. And Tommy can't tell if he's joking or if he just honestly doesn't find it embarrassing. And good for him, if it's true. That's some big man shit right there. Add that on the list of shit you're teaching me. Techno's expression cracks into a smile, but he quickly turns to face the brewing stand again to hide it. Tommy's about to calm out, but Techno twists the knob, turning out of the brewing stand. He picks up one of the bottles. the shimmery grey potion inside swirling as he does. Techno hands it over before collecting the other two. You can do whatever you want with that. Just try not to give Phil a heart attack. Tommy grumbles and trails after Techno as he takes the other potion to the locked cabinet. When he's opened it, it's full of potions, organized by color, or probably effect actually. Holy shit! Are you preparing for war, big man? I like to be prepared, Techno says. And they don't get bad. He adds the invisibility potions to the brethren. But there's so much in there. More than Tom can recognize. He leans forward to get a better look. He realizes there are small labels and he squints to read them. Virus, strength 2, potions plus minus. He's never heard of most of these. It's wild. What could he do with all this at his disposal? Big man, we got a lot of lessons ahead. Techno hums a copy of Tommy's from earlier. Sounds good. He stands in front of the cabinet, looking over the contents for a long while. Theseus? Yeah? Did you, I know everything's been a lot since the holiday, but did you think more about what we offered you? Tommy tries not to grimace. He's thought about it, yeah. He thinks he decided. No, he has decided. It's just he doesn't want to say it out loud. Not when he might change his mind before going through with it. Not when, despite everything, he tells himself the thought of being immortal terrifies him. Because if things ever went wrong, if he became too annoying for them, or if they decided they only wanted him for his powers, he'd never be able to get away. Not really. Even if he ran, it's only be so long until they found him. Even if so long was decades, they still found him eventually if they wanted, because they'd have forever to do so. It would literally always be hanging over his head. So it's terrifying to think about putting himself in that situation. A little bit, he says, staring down at the invisibility potion in his hand. Do you want to talk about it? Tommy grumbles and sets the potion down on the nearby surface. I want to say yes, I guess it's just. He groans. I know it's fine. I know, right? It's just. It's just. He takes a second to collect himself. I want to believe you guys won't change like Dream did. It's just hard to convince myself. Techno chuffs, and once again, Tommy relaxes slightly. Oh, I understand. I trust you the most, though. It's mostly because Phil and Wilbur, my brain's worried about, and mostly Wilbur. Techno turns his head, watching Tommy with interest. Why Wilbur? Tommy crosses his arms, already ready to rant. Because he's an obsessive fuck. He decided I was going to be his brother within like 5 seconds. So what happens when he changed his mind just as fast? I'm going to get fucked over. He won't, Techno says with certainty. The problem with Wilbur, he starts taking a seat at his desk and facing Tommy, is that he gets attached to the temporary. People and things that are doomed to die and rot. If you ran away, didn't take an eternity, in a few hundred years, he'd still be talking about you. Tommy bites the inside of his mouth to stop himself from reacting. He wants to grin like an idiot at the thought of being remembered like that. At someone giving a shit long after he's gone. You don't know that. I know Wilbur. Techno's expression straightens out, and he tilts his head back, staring up at the ceiling. Eternity does kinda freeze you a little bit. He'll probably always be the same type of person he was at 24. Egotistical, self absorbed, and narcissistic. You know? Like a normal young adult. Now, Tommy's gonna have to worry about whatever the fuck eternity freezes you means a little later. Aren't you, like, basically Wilbur's age? Techno snorts. I didn't grow up a spoiled prince like he did. Tommy leans against the side of the desk, interested. How did you grow up then? For a moment, he thinks that maybe that was a fucked up thing to ask. Techno tilts his head away, but he still gets a glimpse of something pained, and Tommy racks his brain to find a joke or something to change the subject, but with Phil. Tommy blinks at him. With Phil? With Phil. Techno repeats, looking back at him. I've never taught you about my power. It's not a question. It's luck. Before Tommy can even process that, because what the fuck? What the fuck? Why would he not know that? How would Dream not know that? Techno continues. Not like Dreams is. Mine is bad luck for everyone around me. I lost my whole sounder to it. Just a variety of accidents and mishaps before they could realize it was my fault and send me out. Oh, Tommy says quietly. That's fucked up. Techno smiles slightly. Yep. Don't worry about it. I don't even remember them. I was trying to survive on my own, but I was short myself. Phil stumbled on me when I was starving to death, and I pretty much grabbed onto him and refused to let go. Oh, you can just picture it. A tiny little techno, literally exactly like he looks is now, but scaled down, which is totally inaccurate, but it's the funniest fucking mental image. Just nabbing Phil's ankles and clinging as Phil tries to walk away. Tommy has to bite his mouth again not to laugh out loud. Yeah, sounds stupid. Techno has to try not to laugh too. But he took eternity so that he'd be more resilient to any possible accidents while figured out how to shut off my powers. Pretty sure he was already planning to take eternity, but good excuse. He raised me. We were survivalists, adventurers, and I grew up knowing the value of hard work. When I took eternity, I had that mindset, and I still have it. Phil took it as a prince, and he still expects to get whatever he wants the second he wants it. What about Phil? Techno smiles more. He's got that, what you call it, mama bird instinct. He took eternity as an adventurer, yes, but raising a kid was his highest priority. Pretty sure that's why he tries to adopt any sad-looking orphan he can find. So, Wilbur's going to care about Tommy forever, because he's just as greedy as Tommy. Phil will, because he's family orientated, or whatever the fuck ever. Techno's techno. It should be fine, right? Literally, it's all spelled out in front of him. Every piece of evidence says, it will be okay, you stupid fuck. And yet, he's still. He's still thinking about that stupid fucking what if. So. Techno interrupts his thoughts. Question: is this really worse than when you showed up to our house not knowing anything about us? I mean, we're villains. Pretty much guarantee you would have died under most circumstances. But you walked straight in here and didn't even hesitate. So, why is it a problem now that you do know us? Well, that's an easy question. I mean, I didn't feel like I was in danger. I mean, I kind of was, because I got by some of your traps, but like I had to deal with you. We're going to be business partners, yeah. Who would be scared of a business partner? Techno falls quiet as Tommy rambles on a little further about how he realized the art of the deal when he got treated like a god in the Lost Nevadas just because he was working with Ace. How he could get whatever he wanted in exchange for a book or a healing potion. Before interrupting yet again. So, maybe this isn't the healthiest option, but why don't you just come up with another deal? Tommy blinks at him. What? You can't convince yourself that we're not going to change, so make a deal. Something you think is fair that would keep you safe. Techno looks back, avoiding eye contact. I don't know what kind of deal. We never renegotiated your healing contract if you took eternity. You could do something with that. A deal? What the fuck kind of deal could keep him safe forever? Being a good healer would keep him safe long enough for a human lifetime, but what the fuck could possibly be worth eternity? He racks his brain. Maybe if he experimented with his powers more, tried to make them even stronger, or if he got more involved with her villainy shit, made himself useful like an actual partner instead of just an employee. Or if he. Oh! Tommy says out loud. Oh fuck! I've got it! Well, that was faster than I thought. What is it? Not telling. Techno lets out an offended noise and Tommy turns towards the cabinet of potions. Techno may have shut it, but he never locked it. So Tommy throws it open and pokes through them. Taking one of these. I'll pay you back. We'll make more later. He shoves it in his pocket as Techno stands up. What? What? Didn't you just? Don't worry about it. I've got to do something. Thanks for the lesson and the potion and the ID. Holy shit! Tech is going to be so good. What? Theseus? It's too late. Tommy's already out the door. He slams it behind him and bolts, almost slipping as the half rug slides under him. But he manages to stop himself from falling and keeps running. He's got a plan, and he's going to put it in action right now, and they'll now owe him literally forever. And he can finally fucking relax. Nothing can stop him right now. Except running straight into Phil. Chapter 35. The first thing Tommy does after recovering from the shock of the collision is to pat his pocket frantically. Sure, would go take another potion from Techno Storage, almost definitely, but then he'd also probably have to explain himself before Techno would let him, which he doesn't want to do. This will go much smoother if no one knows what he's planning beforehand. Luckily, the pocket is still unbroken in his pocket, which is a little weird. He hit the ground hard, but he's not complaining. It's always a pain to heal injuries with glass in them. Tommy? Phil asks, a little dazed from his own fall. Are you alright? Why the rush? I'm fine, King. Just on my way to talk to Wilbur. He says quickly, stumbling over his words a little as he gets to his feet. Without thinking, he grabs Phil's hand to drag him to his feet too. Phil doesn't hesitate to take it and lets himself be pulled up. But he does pause after that. Do you need to talk to him this moment? If you have a few minutes, I'd love to talk to you too, he says, his voice careful, like he's handling a bomb instead of Tommy, who is nothing right now. But if all goes according to plan, wow. He cannot think about that right now. Brings up so many emotions and wants that he feels nauseous. What was he asking? Uh, Tommy drags out as he considers. He wants to get this over with. He's already chickened out once. He can't do it again. And he's sure he'll feel better when it's over and done with. And then, but this is Phil. Phil, who's Tommy, he's been kind of freezing out of his own family. Tommy winces at the thought. Bit fucked up of him, actually. And when this is over with, Tommy will. They'll be flogged, so maybe he can spare a few minutes. Just a few. And then he'll get back to hunting down Wilbur. Sure, but if Techno shows up, I'm gone. Phil blinks at him. You're avoiding Techno? He asks, sounding a bit concerned. I'm avoiding the consequences of my actions, Tommy clarifies. In a way that actually clarifies nothing. I don't think he's actually changing me, though. Probably fine. Don't worry about it. Phil just blinks again. If you're sure, why don't we move to my nest then? He suggests, a little hopeful. The thought makes Tommy hunch his shoulders up. He's not sure how to feel about that. Phil's nest was great when he was kind of having a breakdown or whatever it was, but he has his own nest now. So willingly going to Phil's feels like, kind of like if he walked into Dreams' room, which he only did once, right before he running away. It's like enemy territory. Then again, he doesn't want Phil in his nest yet either, so not until their flock, which has now become a certainty in his mind. They will be flock. He has to fight down the chirp that threatens to build a wall up and accept Phil right now. And he pinches his mouth together to stop it. Oh no, Phil says. We could go to the living room maybe? Or anywhere really, besides standing out in the hallway. Ah, fuck. This is a conversation, not just talk. We can go to the nest, he grumbles, and Phil immediately lights up before leading the way. The nest is the same, except for the very dead flowers. Did Phil really leave them all in here all that time? That's kind of gross. Maybe Tommy should replace them. For now, he just shoves the dead ones to the side and drops into his spot. No, he doesn't have a part of Phil's nest. The part of the nest he stayed in before then. Tommy crosses his arms. What did you want to talk about? Phil doesn't answer at first, fluffing up part of the nest. Tommy's uneasy, part of his brain calling this wrong, wrong, wrong. That he shouldn't be in Phil's nest. Another part of is trying to call him flock, flattered by Phil keeping the flowers, and now organizing the nest better fit him. It's just as nauseating as thinking about Phil maybe being hit. Well, Phil thoughts, I was wondering if there was anything I could do for you? Huh? Tommy cocks his head. What do you mean? Phil sighs. Well, I mean that you're uncomfortable with me. For obvious reasons. Your instincts don't like. He cuts himself off sharply. No, I can't use that as an excuse. You have carnivores and other avian in your flock. It's not about species. It's about me. Tommy sinks down in his spot in the nest, wanted to let the blanket drown him. Well, Phil, it's not exactly. You don't need to cover it up. Phil finally joins him in the nest, leaving a little space between them. I just want to know what it is. How can I fix it? How can I make you more comfortable? He winces again. I'm. I can fix it myself, Phil. I'm going to. Just give me like. It's the nest, Phil interrupts. I thought about improving it, but I don't know what you'd like to keep in it. You like the jewelry Techno gives you, right? I could incorporate that. It's it's not the nest, big man. Tommy tries to tell him, but Phil is barely paying attention, sounding almost neurotic as he goes on. Well, I know Techno makes you all of your meals now, other than those waffles the other day. If you let me prove that I can provide for you again. Techno quickly shakes his head. No, Techno likes cooking for me. That's part of the conversation we gotta have sometime too, actually. Phil bulldozes right through that topic too. Then there's. I could start. This is pathetic. It's painful to listen to, and Tommy can't stop himself from cutting off. Phil, it's because you're trying to be my dad. The words sound wrong in his mouth. He's almost never had a reason to say it before. He shifts uncomfortably. Phil, meanwhile, is frozen. Tommy isn't looking at him, but he can still tell he's completely still. Oh, he says after a long moment. I see. The hurt in his voice brings a spike of anxiety. But that is guilt that Tommy hurt his feelings or fear he can't quite tell. Okay, that's not exactly. I mean, don't get it twisted, Phil. It's not that I don't. I mean, you're great. Really, you are. One of the greatest men, probably. Big fan of your wings and some of the fucked up shit you've done to Dream before we met. He's just spewing words now. He tries to reel back in. But I've never had one of those before. But you had foster parents before you stayed with Dream, didn't you? Tommy snorts and glances over. Yeah, but not ones that like me. I mean, the farm was alright. All I had to do was some chores around the farm and I could do whatever I wanted, right? But before that, I was a problem child, yeah? Loud and made a lot of noises and did a lot of things that didn't make sense. Holy shit, the system failed me by not checking me for hybridism. But I never had parents, and I was in the foster system as soon as I was born, I think. don't know shit about my actual parents. Oh, I see. Phil says again, still sounding pain, but not as hurt this time, more like he's pitying Tommy, which he does not care for at all, but at least he's not upset now. So, it's that it's is new to you. Yeah, that and some other trauma shit I'm trying to figure out, but like, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about having a dad. Even if Techno and Wobo are my brothers, I guess it's weird to think that comes with a parent this time. I mean, I guess technically the captain was my mom, but maybe only legally. I only saw her a few times, and I never really said that. She just pretended to be my social worker, and then she tried to homeschool me for a bit until she admitted it was fucked up what she did, and then Dream stopped letting her come by, so he stops when he sees how horrified Phil looks. Has he not brought this up before? He can't keep track of which parts he's brought up to which person. And there's no way he's gonna have a little family meeting where he sits down the whole flock to hash out his entire tragic backstory, but. Buffy? What? Phil asked faintly. Oh, didn't Phil say ages ago that he and some others had some associates in the hero organization? Hmm. Um, well, I told the captain I didn't want to work for the hero, so she came back as my social worker and introduced me to Dream, who I guess is was her kid. Because she always treated him like it and called him her duckling or whatever. Bit weird considering she's a goat and he's a human, but whatever. Family pet names you want to use, I guess. And then she came by a few times to homeschool me since I wasn't allowed outside of Dream's apartment. But yeah, stopped coming by. Tommy watches Phil through his explanation, watching as the horror gets worse, looking more like hurt, betrayal, maybe some anger, which makes his anxiety flare right the fuck up. And why is he angry in an angry avian's nest? Phil lets out a deep sigh, leaning back in the nest, and a little bit of Tommy's stress goes with it. I'm so sorry she did that. That's. I'm so sorry, he says quietly. Tommy shrugs, looking the other way. I mean, that was a while ago, and Dreams is dead now, and she felt bad by the end of it, so whatever. My point is that I just don't know how to deal with parents, especially not that, so I'm just. Look, I'm working on getting over it, right? It's just the parents who came by to meet kids always hated me. And the only person who wanted to adopt me was some dickhead who fucking slid from good brother to abusive speed of shit pretty fast. So it's hard to accept that someone would want to, you know? Oh, Tommy. Phil says, and Tommy keeps staring at the wall even as he feels the nest shift. Phil moves closer. Of course, someone would want to. Of course, I would want to, but I wouldn't be the only one. Yes, you had some bad luck with prospective parents, and I'm sure unrealized avian ancestry didn't help that, but that doesn't mean you're unwanted or anything like that. He scoffs. curling up more. I know that, he mumbles. It's okay if you can't trust me yet, Phil says softly. I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust you, Phil. I'm fucking trying, but it's just. He needs to get to Wilbur. That's the only chance, he thinks. Phil coos at him soothingly, and Tommy has to fight against relaxing. That's fucking cheating, frankly. Tommy. Hands grab at him, not too roughly, and he's pulled closer, the movement allowing Phil to wrap a wing around him. It's okay. You won't be able to doubt me forever. No matter how long it takes, eventually you'll have to accept. Shut the fuck up, Tommy says sharply, the comfort turning cold instantly. You know that saying that shit is creepy as fuck, right? He has the gall to be taken aback. Like, he really doesn't realize how fucked up that is. Well, it's true, you can't. And it doesn't matter how true it is, it's creepy as fuck. Don't say shit like that. Tommy swallows hard. That. You make it sound like fucking Stockholm Syndrome. Like, oh, if you keep you long enough, you'll be forced to think of us as family. Phil chokes. It's fucked up. I'll get over my shit at my own pace, not yours, and saying shit like that just makes it worse, okay? Shut the fuck up! I. Phil holds him a little tighter. I'm sorry. He falls out, the words sounding strangled, like he's trying not to chirp. I didn't think of it like that. I meant it in a good way. Don't give a shit. Tommy huffs. I mean, you don't need to rush yourself. I'm a patient man, Tommy. I can wait. Sure, he mutters, rolling his eyes. So, you're not definitely super jealous that Wilbur and Fundy got in my flock first. And you're not so clingy you drop me to your nest and Phil squawks in offense. Well, I'm not. Listen, mate. If you don't want your instincts held against you, then don't hold mine against me. Oh, Phil fucking Angel Death. Scariest villain in the world, laid low by a single fucking bird that doesn't want to be his bestie. Flock is so much different than being best friends, and you know that, you little shit. Whatever you do, Mr. Angel of Death, when the. It's Minecraft. Phil interrupts, and Tommy pauses. Confused, he raised an eyebrow at him. My last name. My full name is Phil's and Minecraft's. It's fucking what? He's even more confused. But he's torn between being in awe and making fun of Phil for the rest of his life. Phil's on Minecraft, he repeats. I know it's a bit silly, and they named that game after me to lessen the chance of anyone finding it and using it against me. Or so he said. Your actual fucking last name is. Wait. What about Wilbur and Techno? Are they. Phil smiles at him. Wilbur's actually a suit. My wife and I planned to use a decoy name to make sure you're safe from old magic, but I suppose announcing it actually settled it as his real name, and Techno's true name was confirmed before we met him. It's Technoblade, for the record. Just a mononym. Tommy just stares at him. Okay, first of all, Phil is just handing out full names like the tree switch. Aren't they supposed to be more careful than that? He was around when old magic was huge. Fuck, even Wilbur said that people sometimes didn't give out their names when he was born. So, like, Phil has thousands of years to have that whole don't give out your true name thing ingrained in him. But he's telling Tommy anyways? Secondly, my last name is going to be Minecraft? He blurts out excitedly. Fucking Tommy underscore beloved Minecraft. That is so fucking pog. Phil, you have no goddamn ID. Holy shit. Tommy completely ignores how Phil's eyes have gone wide. Even his iris is doing some weird shit. Whatever. Not his problem. Fucking Minecraft Primes. You. No, I didn't actually have a last name. Or if I did, it wasn't in the system. I guess I was only there as Theseus, which made school and shit really annoying, and I got dreams as when he adopted me, but he faked my paperwork or whatever, so it said my name was Theodore Taken, which is the shittiest name I think. So, Tommy fucking Minecraft, holy. Phil chirps at him. Flock? And he goes silent, surprised. He shouldn't be, maybe. Really, it should be surprising that Phil didn't come to this some other time, but oh, oh, Tommy said his name is going to be Minecraft, like it's a certainty, which it kind of is, but because he's stealing it, but also he did just confirm that he's going to accept that Phil will be his. Flock. Phil chirps again. Less a question and more of a confirmation. His whole hand reaches up, running through Tommy's hair. The closest thing he can get to preening. Tommy remembers someone telling him, and it gets harder to avoid chirping back at him. My fledgling! Phil coos at it as his fingers carefully untangle Tommy's hair. Not so much as tugging it. My flock! Phil, he says, a little weakly, still find the urge. He pays Tommy's pathetic protest no mind. You're safe, fledgling. His song promises safe, protected, cared for, loved. Phil, Tommy repeats, his voice almost breaking. Loved, loved, my flock, my fledgling. He chirps. Almost immediately, the hand drops from his hair and his heartbeat picks up, terrified, like he just showed weakness to a predator. But all Phil does is hug him tight again, his wings wrapping around Tommy, sheltering him from anything outside the nest. Tommy's never paid much attention to the details of Phil's wings before. They're beautiful, yeah, but they always just look black. When he's wrapped in them like this, though, he can see there are little pinpricks of white that look like they're almost glowing in the dark, like stars lighting up the night. Flock. Phil coos again, and he lets out another pleased chirps when Tommy repeats after him. Tommy should be pissed. Maybe. It's not the same as when Wilbur accidentally tricked him into calling him Flock, but it's still. He was going to wait, alright? He was going to do the thing with Will, and then it would have been fine. But Phil saying, chirping all that shit, it was too fucking much. Like, he couldn't stop himself from believing it when he chirped like that. Which is weird and untrue. Because when he lets himself realize that they're a flock, that Phil wants him, there's still that painful doubt. A part of him that says it's all a trick, that things will change in the blink of an eye. But in that moment, he believes Phil completely. That he was completely fucking loved and shit. God. Fucking Phil. But he's not pissed, actually. He's happy or maybe relieved, comfortable. He feels like a weight is off his shoulders. Phil's nest isn't making him anxious anymore. Being near the other avian isn't stressing him out because that's his avian, his flock. Phil seems just as relieved and comfortable from how he's just chirping more affection, more promises of safety and love. You. Tommy swallows, trying to make his mouth make words instead of chirps. You know, if you have Will's powers, I think you'd be fucked. He manages to get out. You're practically spewing joy already. Phil strolls to speak clearly as well. Well, he almost coos, I'm just happy that you're my fledgling. Not a child, dickhead, he mumbles. As much as you and all those fucks want to pretend I am. Sure, Tommy, Phil says, his voice sickeningly fond. If you're such a big man, I'm sure he'd be happy to accept eternity as you are then. I'm sure 16 is old enough. Tommy shoots his head up to look at him. Phil's up Minecraft, biggest man ever. Now let's wait a minute. Would you really deny me the chance to legally drink? Oh, absolutely, he says with a grin. I can't imagine how much trouble you'd get into drunk. Phil, he whines. Don't say! You didn't you say I should wait until I was 18 anyway? Yes, and I still think you should, but if you think you're too big to become my fledgling. Fine, whatever, Tommy huffs. Wait, you're fucking ancient. Did you even have drinking ages back then when you were born? Did you even have alcohol then? Oh, you little shit! I don't predate alcohol! But I'm still holding you to the drinking age, regardless of how it was when I was young. It'll kill your brain cells. We already know I can heal those, Tommy says. So, it's basically no problem. I'm hiding all the drinks in the house, Phil chuckles. Not until you're 18 at the very least. Bitch, fucker, beloathed. I take back calling you the biggest man ever. Of course you do. Phil still sounds way too happy, even as Tommy insults him. Tommy pulls himself out of his arms, even if he's still caged in by the wings. You are a dickhead and a wrong'un, and I don't even feel bad about putting off making you flog, because I thought it was nice you were jealous of everyone else. I'm going to drink so much and do so many drugs when I'm 18. You're going to get me as much trouble as your brothers, aren't you? Phil asks, and Tommy, his heart squeezes at how he says it. How simple it is for Phil to call Wilbur and Techno his brothers. How easily he accepts Tommy as one of his family, not just his flock. I, um, Tommy clears his throat. I have to. I still have to go talk to Will. Oh, Right, Phil says with just a tinge of disappointment. He lowers his wings, freeing Tommy, who's quick to stand up. Yeah, I just. Tech suggested I do something to try to get my brain to shut the fuck up about how it thinks you guys are going. Anyways, I know what to do. So I'm gonna go do that. Phil raises his eyebrow. Sorry, what are you going to do to Wilbur? I won't be long, Tommy promises in the air of an answer. By like dinner time, I guess. Everything will be good. Make a fucking feast in celebration, big man, or order something good, maybe. I can do that. Phil agrees instead of pressing him further. He seems pleased, actually. Probably happy that Tommy's letting him cook for him again. Tommy shuffles towards the door. When Phil doesn't say anything more, or even get up to follow him, he bolts through it, heading through the hall. He checks his pocket again, pulling out the bottle inside. The dark weakness potion inside swirls as he looks at it. Still in good condition. A painkiller, Techno mentioned offhandedly. Hopefully, it'll be enough. Hopefully, Tommy can pull this off. Chapter 36. Tommy passes in front of Wilbur's door. It's cracked open, just enough for him to hear the music coming from inside. One day, I know that you'll be there. One day, I focus on the future. Maybe one day, oh baby, isn't life so fucking inconsistent? Tommy hasn't heard this one before. He wants to stand out here and listen to the whole thing through, or go inside, sit on Wilbur's floor, and listen to it up close. Wilbur would let him. He knows. He'd fucking soak up Tommy's attention when he played. Instead, he knocks on the door, sudden and loud enough to make the music stop instantly. They're shuffling inside, and within a few moments, Wilbur is opening the door. Tommy! He sounds way too happy to see him. Which, sure, Tommy hasn't exactly been hanging out with him, even since they became flock. Hi, Will, he says before elbowing his way into the girl's bedroom. Wilbur's quick to get out of his way to let him in. If he was a dog hybrid, his tail would be wagging. What's up? Did you hear me playing? Yeah, I want to hear that song later, he admits easily. And Wilbur lights up. But I want to ask you something. Sure, what is it? He asks as he shuts the door behind him. Will, what would you do for me to accept eternity? Wilbur whips his head around to stare at him. I wouldn't force you, he says, sounding almost in pain from the promise. I swear I wouldn't. Tommy rolls his eyes. No, bitch, I mean like a bride. Oh, he perks right back up. Literally anything. You're considering it? Yeah, drink this. Tommy pulls out the weakness potion, holding it out to him. Wilbur takes it without hesitation. But he does look it over. Uh, what exactly? I didn't say ask questions, Will. Drink it. Will glances between him and the bottle before uncorking it. Wait, shit. Hang on. Sit down first, I think. Will pauses, but goes to take a seat on the bed. As soon as he's seated, he downs the whole bottle. As soon as it's empty, the bottle drops from his hand, and he slumps over, his head smacking against the headboard. Mm, maybe I should have told you to lie down instead. But I think you would have choked, which is worse actually. Don't think my healing could fix that. Well, maybe I've never tried it. I should have talked to Techno about that. What? Wilbur slurs, his eyes lazily drifting over to fix on Tommy. One of his fingers twitches, but it seems like that's all he's capable of. Weakness potions seem kind of fucked now that he thinks about it. Still, he only has so long 4 minutes, the label on the cabinet said. So Tommy quickly takes a seat next to him. Look, I was going to do this for the holiday. He tries to explain it himself. I just kind of panicked and made those ugly little bookmarks instead, but I, I've been fucking, trying to convince myself that you guys aren't going to turn around and suddenly hate me or act like Dream as soon as I'm stuck with you for all eternity. Wilbur lets out a weak noise in protest, and Tommy nods. Yeah, I know, okay? Like, I get it logically and mentally, but shit, but emotionally, my brain will just not fucking let it rest. He reaches over, turning Wilbur on the side. He's going to need room for this. Or it'll probably get kind of fucked up. Healing powers or no healing powers. The shit, it's gonna get in the way too. But probably not too badly, and he's not about to strip the guy when he can't move. Whatever, ew. So anyway, Techno suggests I make a deal, right? Something to make me feel safe, like a business deal. So when I came first here, like when I first came here, because that's when I felt safe, because I had something to offer you and you wouldn't hurt me as long as I give it. Another mangled protest comes from Ilbe, and Tommy just nods. Yeah, King, I know, but I need it, right? I needed that. So it was a good idea from Techno, yeah? If I could come up with a deal that would keep me safe for the rest of eternity, I wouldn't have anything to be worried about. Wilbur hums questioningly, and Tommy takes it as encouragement to go on. But I don't think there's a deal that will actually work. I mean, what would work for literally forever, right? Eventually, whatever novelty of the deal would wear off, and it wouldn't work anymore, but a debt will work forever, right? If I did something so good that you'd all owe me, then you couldn't hurt me, not ever. Robert doesn't respond to that. Tommy isn't sure why, but he doesn't have time to think about it. He probably just waited a minute rambling. He has to get it done now. He grabs Wilbur by the arm, taking a deep breath, and he feels the missing limbs of Wilbur's back. The skin scarred where they used to be, and he rips the scars open, making room for him to grow. There's no response from Wilbur. Hopefully, the weakness potion is strong enough that he can't feel it at all, even as the blood stains the back of his shirt and drips through to the bed. Tommy focuses his eyes, focusing. He's looked into bone structure and muscles of avian wings, and between that and his normal intuition, he's fucking sure he can pull this off. Or kind of sure, but he doesn't have the time to doubt himself. Like he learned when he grew back someone's leg, it's hard to create bone marrow from nothing. Flesh is easy, just like when he has to heal a cut. Pulling skin and muscles together and making new flesh to sew it together. But now he just has to grow it outward in the right shape, with bones. He has to reach his powers into Wilbur's back, pulling out just a sliver of a shoulder blade to give him a outer base. From there, he can expand it, like fixing a broken bone, but, worse, because he's creating multiple fucking bones from a shard. It's weird trying to recreate wings It was easier with fixing a leg. Tommy has legs. He knows how they work, how they walk, how the ankles bend, and how each toe moves. Wings? Oh, that's unfamiliar. He can kind of imagine how they work. He's seen it on film. He's had little daydreams about it if he had wings himself, but is that enough to base the real thing on? Slowly, the base of the wings starts to grow out of Wilbur's back, under his shirt, bone and muscles and flesh forming. Tommy prays to the prime gods that is shaping them right as he pushes more power into it, trying to make it faster before the weakness can wear off, and Wilbur will start to feel it. Wilbur started making quiet, confused noises, as well as an attempt to move, but it's easy to hold him still with just the hand on his arm. He doesn't want Wilbur to break his wings before they're done. That'll take too much time to fix. He doesn't know how long they're supposed to be. Fuck! Tommy makes an educated guess based on Phil's wings, which were just wrapped around him, and he takes a deep breath as they grow, trying to stave off panic. Worst case scenario, well, they cut him off and try again, but he can get this. He swears he can do this right. He squeezes his eyes shut and imagines how the wings would feel on his own back, how the muscles would move and the wings would stretch. He uses that mental image as he keeps pressing waves of power into Wilbur's back, hoping it's enough to make them right. The half-grown wings lay limp under Wilbur's shirt as they take shape, and Tommy doesn't like that. He knows it's because of the weakness potion, because Wilbur can't move them the same way he can't move anything else. But he feels like he's fucking this up. Like he's going to fucking horribly ruin Wilbur's wings, and even trying again will never make up for this fuck up. He's tired. He's only halfway through and he's tired. Maybe he wants to be panicking. That will push him through the exhaustion. This is worse than a leg, he thinks, but he doesn't stop. He has what? 1 minute? Maybe a little more? He pushes more, harder, and lilacs spill from his hands, enough that they're spilling on the bed and also onto the floor. Tommy blinks, woozy, like he's the one covered in his own blood, instead of Wilbur. But it's working. The wings are large enough to rip through the back of Wilbur's shirt, too big to fit underneath them, and he stares as the tips slowly solidify, the base shape finished. He almost drops his hand, almost stops there. They're grown. He could be done, but they're bare. Wilbur can't fly without feathers. He's he's not sure how to grow those, but he grew these wings in part because Wilbur is meant to have them, and he's meant to have feathers as well. So maybe if he can just try even more, put even more power into it, just without focus this time. Tommy slumps forward, unable to keep himself upright as he uses even more power to try to force Wilbur's wings into growing feathers. He can barely keep his hands wrapped around Wilbur's arms at this point. But he's got, what, seconds? No, he's out of time. Tommy? Wilbur asks, his voice still a bit slurred, but that's enough. Joy and wonder like he's rarely felt before. Like when he was little and Tubbo loved him enough to give him the only thing he had of his father. Like when Will first cut his arm open to fix it, Tommy's need to heal. His head spins with it. He would laugh or cry of happiness if he had any energy to do anything besides breathe. Heaven! This is heaven! He wants to feel for the rest of time, or nothing else will ever match up. Tommy can vaguely hear Wilbur calling his name, can faintly feel his arms wrap around him and hold him close. But he can't do anything but stare blankly into distance. His limbs are trapped, not just by Wilbur holding him, but also by his own exhaustion. Black spots fade in and out of his vision pool. He's just gone. When Tommy stirs, he hurts. Not like he hasn't used his power in a while, but physically sore. Like he overextended his elbow, but it's in his entire body. He tries to fix it, but his head swims the moment he pulls on his powers. It's too soon. Like his reserves are empty. He huffs. The only noise he has the energy to make. And then he wakes again. The soreness is still present, but a little less. It's duller. He can deal with it. He's a little less tired now. Enough for him to force an eye open. For a moment, he doesn't recognize where he is. He was in Wilbur's room, right? But this isn't it. He's lying face down, so all he sees is a blanket under him. But if it's familiar, he can't place it. He tries to roll over, tries to turn his head, even tries to open his other eye, but it's too much of a strain. He's too exhausted. He wakes again. This time, it doesn't take Tommy too long to realize where he is. Letting his head fall to the side lets him realize that he's been tucked into Phil's nest. He also realizes that Tubbo is pressed up against him, curled into Tommy's side. He can just barely feel Tubbo's horns at this angle. When they were this close, but he can't move his head. He can also feel someone on his other side, taller. Feels kind of cold. It's probably Ranbu, but he can't bring himself to turn his head the other way. He's comfortable, pressed between them, and he wakes again. Techno is burning hot as he holds Tommy tight. But Tommy can't bring himself to give a shit. He tries to shift closer, but he can only slightly lift his arm to drape it over Techno's side. He's lying down wrong, though. His arms are numb under him from lying on them, and he just barely manages to get them free. He doesn't realize there's a contradiction there. He wakes again. He can feel hands somewhere behind him fixing something. It's unfamiliar and unfocused. His brain just can't process whatever is right now. Still, it's comfortable, and he drifts back asleep while Phil coos something he isn't listening to. He wakes again. Tommy blinks, slowly. He's been moved. He's sitting up now, and someone's in the doorway. He forces his eyes open more to try to get a good look at the person. Fundy, definitely, yelps and drops something on the ground. Tommy's quick to decide that's too much excitement for him, and he wakes again. Tommy? Wilbur asks quietly from the edge of Phil's nest. Tommy looks at him, though he can't quite make his eyes focus. They're large, blue shapes of his shoulders. Are you awake, Sunflower? Tommy hums. He's not really sure. Noble laughs quietly. You need to sleep more. You really wiped yourself out. Fuck off. Even that little bit of talking exhausts him more. But he doesn't want to prove Wilbur right. Sorry, Sunflower, he says before coming closer, joining him in the nest. One of the big blue things drapes over Tommy, almost like a blanket, and despite himself, he closes his eyes. Wait, no, no! He forces his eyes open and blinks a few times, trying to clear his vision before looking down. It's a wing. It's Wilbur's wing. They're almost black at the base, fading in a gradient to a deep royal blue halfway through. And he doesn't think the feathers are all grown in all the way, but they're clearly all growing. He has wings and feathers, and Tommy did it! He fucking did it! If it meant he fell asleep for who knows how long, he he fucking did it! You the wings, he mumbles. Wilbur coos. I love you so much. You are right. I owe you forever, Toms. He stretches the wing out further, showing off. It's perfect. As soon as my flight feathers finish growing in, I'll, I'll be able to fly again. Thank you, Sunflower. His joy spills over again, or maybe it's actually Tommy being happy for him. He can't tell. He raises a shaking hand, trying to grab Wilbur's wings. If he just heals it a bit more, he can probably finish growing the feathers for him before he can so much as brush a finger against it. Wilbur pulls it back, tugging the wings behind him. No, Tommy, he says quietly. Don't use your powers. It's fine, they'll grow back at their own pace. But I can tries to offer, but Wilbur shakes his head. Tommy, you've been asleep for weeks. You can't push yourself right now. Weeks? He thought hours, maybe a day or two with how often he woke up, but weeks? That can't be right. He's never in his life had to sleep that long after healing. Not even when he was a weak little kid. No. No, even when he grew that guy's leg back, he slept 8 hours, and that could have been him growing to sleep like normal. So, why the fuck would he have slept that long? Tommy tries to push himself to sit up, but he braces himself on something soft, and when he tries to change position, his back twinges with a sharp pain. Ugh. He's been in the nest too long. That can't have been good for his back. When he stills from the pain, Wilbur takes him by the arm, pulling his bracing arm away and helping him sit up. Be more careful, Sunflower. You don't want to hurt yourself. My back hurts, he complains tiredly, and tries to stretch. His arms hit Wilbur. His arms are also above his head. Uh-huh. Yeah, I'd imagine it would. Will says with a hint of amusement, not noticing Tommy's confusion. No matter how many tries to try to move you, you wouldn't. So you wouldn't be lying down on your wings. You kept trying to roll back over. You need to break that habit soon. Tommy blinks at him. My what? Your wings, Sunflower. Wilbur reaches out and runs his hand through something on Tommy's his not arm. What the fuck? He twists his head to the side and he's very, very awake now. The wings are bright blue, like the colors of his eyes when they fully glow, with light pinpricks of white, almost like Phyllis's. Tommy jolts and does something, and his feathers, fully grown, unlike Wilbur's, flap up in alarm. What the fuck? You didn't mean to. Fucking of course I didn't mean to. What the? What kind of question is that? He can't really feel them now. He doesn't know how he thought they were just arms. He can stretch them out individually, and holy shit, that feels so fucking weird. And so fucking cool. They were just barely growing in when you passed out, Wilbur tells him, still running a hand through his feathers. Is that what preening is supposed to be? We think you were asleep for so long because you were constantly using your powers to keep growing them, even though you were already at your limit. I fucking what? He asked weakly, before glancing down. He can see it. The nest is full of lilies and sunflowers. Huh, he didn't even know he could heal one conscience. Thank fuck Gorgie never learned that either. I don't. I was going to grow your feathers, but I didn't know how. I just kind of trying to push my powers aimlessly. Maybe I. Either way, Wilbur says, far too easily brushing over the most important shit in the universe. They're incredible, Sunflower. I can't wait until you're ready to fly. Ready to fly? Fly. Tommy warbles, overwhelmed, and Wilbur coos. You're okay, I love you. You're okay, he repeats the words. I know it's a lot. I was pretty overwhelmed when I realized I had wings too. Why don't you try to get some more rest? Tommy shakes his head, still taking in the idea of flying. Something he thought about all the time as a kid being possible. He's also pretty distracted by the fact that he grew himself fucking wings, even though he's never had them before. Can he just grass hybrid parts onto anybody? Oh, he could make fucking bank of that, he thinks. Ah, power experiments. Is Techno mad at me? Wilbur tilts his head, looking confused. Why would he be? Oh, because you stole one of his potions? No, he replaced it immediately. It's not like the ingredients are especially rare or anything. No, because he was trying to get me to stop overusing my powers, and instead he pushed them way beyond what he's done before. Growing multiple limbs for Wilbur and himself at basically the same time? That was kind of correct, actually. Not that he's going to tell Techno that if he's pissed. That gets a laugh out of Wilbur. No, Sunflower. He was worried when you didn't wake up. He won't leave you alone for a week, but he's not mad. He's grateful that you gave me my wings back. Tommy hums, doubting himself a little. Everyone will be glad to know you're awake. Funny freaks out when he saw you wake up for a minute, and Rambo had to physically hold Tubbo back from shaking you awake. Whoa, what a dick, Tommy says with a yawn. Wilbur visibly he holds back another laugh. Go back to sleep, Toms. We'll celebrate everything when you're really awake. He returns to calling his hand through Tommy's feathers as Tommy lays back down. On his stomach, his wings really do feel pinned down when he's on his back. Tommy tilts his head to look to the side to watch Wilbur preen him. Wilbur's own wings catch his eye though, and he compares their wings. Wilbur's are much darker, yeah, but the blues still look nice. Like they're related. Especially since Tommy has the same spots that Phil does. Hey, Will, he murmurs, closing his eyes. Yeah, Sunflower? We look kind of like brothers now. Chapter 37. The Epilogue. Warning! Minor torture near the end. I'll put the timestamp in its case of stabbing and the beginning of withering. Dream has always been lucky. He got his power surprisingly young. He was 12 when he first used it, and it had been so confusing he didn't even realize it at first. The sun had reflected off the glass at just the wrong angle, blinding him and making him trip. He winced at the scrape on his knee and took a moment to look at it, and he only had a split second to realize his blood was suddenly gold. Then a car skipped off the road and hit the storefront next to him. Dream would have been dead if it wasn't for him stumbling. If he hadn't been at exactly the right spot to be blinded, he had no idea what it was, but he ran home to his foster mother's and cried in her arms, like he was still a little kid. It was embarrassing, and he later pretended it never happened. But there was still god blood staining his jeans. He'd shown it to his mother, who smiled and gently told him he probably had a power of some sort and just hadn't realized it yet. It was a few more times before he realized how it worked, how to draw on luck, to always make a coin flip in his favor, to always be the one to find lost money. His blood turned gold as he used it, and he loved it. Loved the physical appearance of his very cool power, yeah. But more importantly, he loved how it matched his brother's mysterious hidden back scar, the one he'd had for as long as he remembered. But blood brothers now, Dream whispered to Foolish from across the room. He wasn't knew it wasn't what the phrase was supposed to mean, but it meant something, didn't it? That his blood would bleed the same shade of gold that trailed across his brother's face. Foolish laughed and agreed. And then, later, Foolish discovered his own powers. Because Dream was lucky. They were 15, walking home from high school together. Buffy had offered to pick them up, it being her day of being her job as a hero. But they were planning to stop by the grocery store to pick up a cake. Her birthday was the next day, but she was going to be walking, and they wanted to surprise her. So even though it was drizzling, they made their way there. They regretted it a little when the rain got heavier, then more when the winds picked up. When the thunder roared far too close, far too suddenly, when a branch from a bush whacked Dream in the face, and his hand came away from the cut gold, and lightning struck his brother directly. Dream had only been a step behind him. Foolish collapsed, and Dream could smell burning flesh. But he ignored it, dropped to his brother's side, and trying to revive him. He didn't have a pulse. And then he did. Foolish's scar glowed under the overcast sky, and Dream watched through wet eyes as the gold spread, the lines becoming thicker. Much more of his face was covered in gold when Foolish gasped, opening his eyes, alive again. Dream escaped death twice because of his power. So does his brother, apparently. With that, Dream became obsessed with beating death. His luck protected him, and his brother's powers protected him. But what about Puffy? Every day she went out and fought monsters to make the world safer for him and Foolish. But that meant that every day she was in danger of dying. Of dying to the Syndicate, especially. Immortals, who had already beaten death, used it to hurt his mother. The second he was old enough, he signed up for an internship at the Heroes organization. His mother was wary about it, but he brushed her off, concerns, and threw himself into it. They trained him from 16 to 18, and then immediately set him loose. And he was incredible. The world bends under his luck. Pieces of buildings that have been standing for decades suddenly crumbling just enough to take out a villain. The wind changing direction to hide his scent from hybrid villains who would otherwise find him, always being exactly where he needs to be to succeed. Theo was one piece of that. It was his luck that he was an orphan, so Puffy would be the one called in to talk to him. It was luck that she kept her license as a social worker up to date, even though she had long left that life to be a hero. It was luck that Dream overheard her talks about the healer that didn't want to help people. That he was there to offer to talk to the kid at the right time. It wasn't luck that Theo adored him, though. That was all Dreams is doing. It was so easy, too. Dream just had to listen to the kid chat about whatever, and then he chased after Dream like a dog. It was sweet. Almost. But Dream couldn't ignore why he was there. For a healer. A healer, one that could cure illnesses and injuries. One who could be used to protect Puffy, to stop his brother from dying. And how was Foolish so accident prone? How would he come home with gold spreading further and further, almost until it completely covered his skin? How was he dying? Why wouldn't he explain himself? As long as Dream convinced him to. But he had to start slow, ease him into it, like a frog into a cold pot of water. Dream tried to hint at what he wanted, showing Theo small injuries he got while training, but Theo never offered to heal him. He didn't want to use his powers. It drove Dream crazy, but he kept playing nice right until he woke up in the hospital wing, flowers falling from Theo's hands. After that, he couldn't risk playing nice. Theo had to heal him. He had to get stronger. Had to. Because if Dream could bleed out on a hospital table, what's stopping George from doing the same? George, his best friend, the most important person in his life, George, could just smile and Dream would bend over backwards for him. George, who Dream went to bed against the blade for, almost dying again so that George wouldn't have to. George, who bends heaven and hell and limbo for. George, who'd he'd forced Theo to heal too. It made Theo stronger, made George healthy. It was a good thing. Even if it made Theo pass out from exhaustion, it was worth it, and Theo should have been glad to do it, to be able to fulfill his purpose. Dream worked so hard to keep him safe. He corrected Theo when he was being difficult. He fought monsters stronger than he could physically be. He saved hundreds, thousands of lives. The number one hero. The fucking king of the SMP. And no one fucking appreciated. George just laid down and accepted whatever Dream did for him. But it was a given. Like it was a given, taking it for granted. Push through distant, care more about his partner and his dumb construction business than his brother. Puffy, he tried to convince him to even give Theo away, find him a different home. As if Theo wasn't the only thing keeping Dream alive most days. And Theo, fucking Theo, always wanted more. He wanted Dream to be his big brother, which taught him more than when Foolish spoke to him less and less. He wanted Dream to work less, even if it meant people would fucking die. Fuck, Theo wanted to work less. Hesitated to fix anything less than a broken bone. It was infuriating. But then, Dream got his hands on the book. Sapnap Halo had been weird, a weird little addition to that group. He had been given to Dream almost as a protege, someone for him to train and protect. His firepower was useful, something physical to use against villains instead of relying on George's power, as knocking people out or Dream having to get up and personal. But they were a double-edged sword, with how easily I could hurt the two of them as well. Dream was starting to hate when Theo touched him. And he was sick of fucking flowers. He didn't want Sapnap's accidental burns to make him have to put up with it more. Sapnap came in handy, eventually though, beyond what he could do in a fight. See, he thought he was keeping it a secret, but Dream looked into everything. He couldn't let himself get caught off guard. So when Sapnap snuck off on a date, Dream knew exactly who he was going to see. Ace, formerly known as Quackity Schla, formerly the husband of the J-Slad. The J-Slad who would on occasion, while drunkenly evading the heroes, claim to have the key to eternal life. Dream used Sapnap's date nights to find an opportunity to break into Arrow's home in Las Nevadas. From there, he found scraps of Ace's own search for Schlatt's belongings, and from there he found the book. It wasn't exactly what he had hoped for, but it was close. The ability to bring anyone back from the dead. There was all the magic in there. Withering weakness, spells to bring people to the brink of death. But the most important was revival. To be able to reach into the afterlife and drag people back. The cause was that the afterlife would be unpleasant for however long they were in, but it would be better than actually dying, wouldn't it? Puffy would understand if he had to use it for her. Foolish was too. His powers ran out when He was no longer had unmarked skin to turn gold, and George would. If Theo fucked up enough to actually let him die, Dream liked to think he thought Theo better than that. He liked to think that Theo finally realized where he belongs, at Dream's side, to heal him whenever he needs. Then he found Theo touching the book. What would he have done with it? God, no, a teenager shouldn't have any of the power in that book. No one should, except for Dream. And yet, Theo went against what Dream told him to try and get his hands on it. He let George do whatever he wanted. Theo being unable to get into trouble was a comfort during a difficult time, when Dream was doing his best as a hero and to figure out how to use old magic. Sapnap became more difficult between his boyfriends and growing distrust of Dream, but it would be fine. If Sapnap stepped too far out of line, Dream could easily discard him. The organization wouldn't look too kindly on him, and Kronos being involved with Ace, it was Dream's own trump card. Luckily, oh so luckily, he didn't need to use it. Sapnap stopped speaking about Theo's treatments, eventually enough that he could trust him with an awake Theo, while Dream and George went out. He shouldn't have. Theo's gone. It was the apocalypse, like the moon crashed into the planet and destroyed everything he'd ever known. Even from before Dream had taught him, Theo had never attempted to leave the apartment. And he'd learned, hadn't he, not to touch the revival book, and yet that was also missing. Dream tore apart the city as secretly as he could, searching for a single teenager in every crowd, every alleyway, every homeless shelter. Then he spread outward, combing smaller towns in between bigger cities. Then other cities he may have taken shelter in. He had every hero he could convince searching for Theo, but it was like he vanished without a trace. There was nothing, no sign of him, no sign of the book. It was a painful revelation to realize that Theo was just as important as the book. That he would actually depend on Theo's powers, needing them in place of just healing potions, made his stomach churn and had to be rationed for fear of overdosing. But it would be fine. He'd find him. He'd find him too late. Dream found George too late after all. He'd flashed his powers, his luck getting the warden to miss his presence, and instead, it skewered George. Dream hadn't had time to find him a potion, only managing to get him to the apartment before George bled out in his arms. Dream was so grateful he memorized the book. George wasn't. George was so fucking ungrateful for everything, wasn't he? Dream lent him his healer. Dream was trying to discover immortality, in part for him. Dream was dating Siren's son just to drag their family secrets out of him. For George, but no, nothing he ever did was good enough. Not after bringing him back from the dead. Instead, George just stared off into the distance, muttering about someone called XD that would have taken him if Dream hadn't brought him back. Nothing, Dream said, would snap him out of his daydreams that this fucking ghost or whatever would one day come back for him. And Sapnaps. Oh, Sapnap. He was so tightly strung that Dream wanted to snap him. Kronos went missing. Ace had gone radio silent, and Sapnap was almost as screwed up as Dream was about Theo's disappearance. But he wasn't putting nearly enough energy into searching, so it was just Dream going out to look for him. Just Dream questioning civilians about if they'd seen him. Just Dream doing interviews, practically begging for help, because no one else gave a shit. And then finally, someone called in an accurate tip. Dream didn't even tell George where he was going as he suited up and made his way to the alley Theo had been seen camping in. He'd been so relieved to see him okay that no one had discovered his powers and taken him. Sure, Theo would have been to be punished, corrected using whatever methods necessary, but at least he'd been brought home. Siren, the blade, the angel of death. The fight was a blur marked by flashes of his own gold blood dripping on the ground, marked by horrific pain crawling up his hands from withering. But it would be okay. Theo would heal him. Theo would bloom those stupid fucking flowers. It would all be like nothing ever happened. Limbo was strange. He wasn't sure that was why it was, but well, it felt horrible. And Dream remembered how George explained it. A personal hell that you only go to when someone's going to revive you, he said, echoing that XD person who explained it to him. Part of him was relieved, of course, that he'd be revived. Theo fucked up, of course, but he would realize his mistake eventually and use the stolen book to bring him back. On the other hand, Dream was being tortured. There was no other word for it. He lost track of time completely as his body, his soul, went through the same experience over and over again. Jim was trapped in a doorless, windowless room as withering slowly crawled over his skin, killing his nerves and making him feel every centimeter of his body sore, dying. Even if death, he wouldn't be free from his fear of dying. And soon, as the last part of him went numb, he would suddenly feel his body again, only for the withering to start yet again. Yet, he held onto that simple fact that one day, he'd be revived. No matter how many times he ran through this loop, he'd eventually be free. And then he could go back to guaranteeing he would never have to feel again. It was inevitable. Dream is freshly starting the loop, the burning only in the tips of his fingers. When a door opens. There's never been a door before, but there's one now. And despite the intolerable pain, he forces it down, trying to drag himself towards it. Halfway there, a hand comes into view. Familiar, pale, with scars he'd placed there himself. He doesn't hesitate to grab it, and it quickly drags him through the doorway. In a flash, the pain is gone, and Dream gasps for air. Air that he hadn't needed in the afterlife, but that he was so glad to have now. The hand released him, and he drops to an unfamiliar floor. What took you so long? He tries to snap, trying to hold his dignity even now. But when he looks up at Theo, he doesn't recognize him. No, he does. It's Theo, obviously. The face is the same, if a little more filled out. Like he gained a healthy amount of weight. His eyes are the same shade, his hair's still blonde, it's still him. but every detail is just wrong. The Theo that stands in front of him is not the child that Dream raised. He thinks almost hysterically his Theo never had hair long enough to braid. He didn't get to wear luxuries like gold jewelry that the person in front of him was practically dripping in. A crown inlaid with diamonds on his head. He didn't have wings. Who is this? Theo? It's more of a demand than an ask. Demand for this person's identity. It's Tommy now, actually, Theo says, smiling down at him. Dream's already nauseous from being revived, but the feeling is worse when Theo smiles. It's unfamiliar. When's the last time you saw Theo smile in a way that wasn't forced? That wasn't shaky and uncertain? It must have been a long time ago. And he's never seen Theo smile exactly like this. He doesn't even recognize it for a moment. Is he proud of bringing Dream back? No, it's not that. Smug? Theo, Dream starts, ignoring the fact that Theo picked up some weird nickname and couldn't understand that later. He begins to get to his feet. It's almost a struggle. He hasn't stood in so long. The withering too painful to let him. Your Dream hits the ground with a wheeze and blinks in confusion. It takes embarrassingly long to realize. Theo just sweeps his leg. The disbelief stifles his growing anger for a moment. I said it's Tommy, Theo repeats, almost whining. Dream winces at the pitch of his voice. It's so annoying. It's Tommy underscore beloved Minecraft student Salmon's Halo. Honestly, still deciding the best order for that. Tommy's the only part you need to remember. Salmon's Halo? What the fuck are you talking about? Dream laughs incredulously. What? You're just taking random people's last name now? Where will law go? There's a pause and then Theo laughs too. It sounds so light-hearted. Like he's never had a care in the world. Oh shit, I forgot Goggy's name. Kind of stupid, right? Goggy Law, he mocks, and Dream's anger flare up. Not that managed anymore. Theo goes on, ignoring how Dream starts to stand up again. He's been gone for a fucking while now, yeah? What? Dream asks faintly, frozen mid motion. Theo must mean something else. George moved, or maybe he quit the hero business. It's been, well, at least a few months, right? For Theo to have his hair to grow like that. How fast does hair grow again? That makes it seem like it would have been a while, but not that long. If Theo's still baby faced and Dream has no idea how long he was in limbo. It felt like he doesn't want to think about how long it felt like. What do you mean George is gone? Dream asks, when Theo doesn't answer him immediately. Theo hasn't stopped smiling. Dream wants to knock it off his face. Died, didn't he? The waltz ends. But Theo keeps talking anyway. The organization didn't exactly pass on any detail to the public. Claimed he was just retired, but Sapnap got all his shit. Which was neat. Prime, I remember when he got back from funeral. We ended up burning Goggy's stupid hero outfit. How long has it been? How long will George have been in limbo? if Theo is saying it like he remembers when, what, a year gone? How long? How long? How long? He demands. How long what? How long has Dream has to revive him. He'll need to prepare himself for whatever traumatized George is from it. Maybe this time George would actually be grateful. Prime, Theo thinks it's over, taking far too long to consider. How could he not remember it right off the bat? Fuck if I know, a couple decades from now? Couple decades? He's lying, he's lying, he's lying, he's lying, he's lying. Only 2 years after you died. I think something like that. No, no, must have been less than that if the organization was still fucking around. Theo rambles. I think it was a little after when Tubbs and Boo joined us, so like a year and a half after you, I guess. Ages ago. What? Come on, Theo, what are you talking about? Dream asked uncertainly. Did Theo go crazy? He looks a year older at most. Still just a child. Even if he's even if he's changed so much and he has those wings. Maybe this isn't real. Maybe this is new weird level of limbo. Like someone in charge thought withering was growing boring. Time to kick it up a notch with this. Theo, his healer, lying about George dying about what? Living forever? It's Tommy. Theo is again, finally sounding annoyed instead of just amused. And I was just answering your question, Dream. That's what you always said I was supposed to do, right? Answer when you ask me something. Well said, that's one of the things he owes you for. Will. Dream repeats, the name sour in his mouth. Wilbur Soot? He'd almost forgotten in the decades, centuries he spent in limbo. Theo ran to the syndicate. New jailers, he called them, but Dream doesn't understand. Theo was a hero, not technically, not on paper, but he was. He was Dream's healer. The strongest support healer the hero organization had ever had. The idea of him running off to villains was ridiculous at best. But that's what he did. He turned his back on heroes and then gave himself to the syndicate. This is what you got in return? Dream croaked, his anger finally big. You traded yourself for immortality. The thing Dream was always desperate for, that Dream did everything to get, that he tore apart buildings and people and his own family for. The thing that he was supposed to give him peace of mind, comfort that those few attachments had. The people he cared for, that he could count on. One thing, would be with him forever. And yet, Theo had gone one step further. Theo had finally lost his smile, but somehow it doesn't make Dream feel any better. He doesn't think he's ever seen Theo so cold. It's Tommy. I didn't trade myself for shit, Dream. I'm not an object, I'm a person. You know what I meant? He snaps. Yeah, I do. You meant I was an object, a healer, your healer, right? Theo snorts, still glaring at him. It took me so long to get past that, you know? And do you know how hard it is to find a good therapist when you're a villain? I had to fucking read self-help books and shit. Those are boring. Dream starts to get up again, his anger flaring up further. Theo calling himself a villain so naturally, as if it was just what he is. What he is a healer. He's meant to protect people, to care for others. So how did he get so fucking twisted? How did he? There's a glint of silver, and then of gold, as a small throwing knife embeds itself into his knee. Dream's leg immediately buckles under his weight, and he falls again. The pain is sudden, sharp, grounding. It makes him feel less dreamlike, like less like some new stage of limbo, more like this is real and Theo's a villain and he just threw a knife at him, at Dream. Using her powers to make me avoid nerves is just cheating, Theo grumbles, as if they're just playing Monopoly. Dream just gazed at him. Next time I'm borrowing power suppressors, that's some bullshit. Dream is off kilter. Theo shouldn't hurt people. That's literally the opposite of what he's meant to do. And for him to hurt Dream who take care of him, took him from that farm, who gave him a purpose, who tried to keep him from monsters. I shouldn't even be surprised, Dream hisses. You've always been so ungrateful. Theo's scowl falls, turning to confusion as he presses forward. I gave you safety, a home, a brother, and you threw it. Theo's wings spread out, catching Dream's eyes and distracting him for just a moment. Just long enough for Theo to shoot his arm forward and grab Dream by the hair, holding his head still and smashing a fist into the side of his face. It's almost familiar. In a few ways, Dream is used to being on the side of it against villains. He's used to being on the other side when it comes to Theo. Never say that again, Theo says, voice trained almost inhumanly. His nails dig into the top of Dream's skull. You weren't my brother. You were a monster, a violent piece of shit who threatened me like a toy, who tried to break me. Theo's nails dig in harder, enough to draw blood. I have brothers now. I know the fucking difference, and I know if you ever call yourself my brother again, I'll fuck your and rip your tongue out. Dream just stares at him. He can't. He can't even process this. He's Theo. No. Theo. Just Theo. Tommy, this person in front of him is not the child he raised. This is a monster, just like the Syndicate, an immortal, a human beast who can laugh about George's death, who can talk about decades passing like it was days. Dream can't understand it. Where did he go wrong? The monster rolls its eyes and its lack of reaction and lets go of Dream's hair, letting him fall into a heap on the ground. He just stares after it as it turns around, not even trying to get up with his injured leg. Not ungrateful, the monster mutters. I know exactly what I owe you, Clay, and so does my family. There's a whole tally, you know. Blade says he owes you at least four. From hurting Will and me and this whole disrespect for healers you've got in general. Will keeps adding to his. I think he's at a dozen. They're all about me, though. He doesn't even care about the time you're with him. Funny ones, one. Sabnap wants a few hits, but he said he isn't sure if. Sabnap? Trim whispers, confused. Fundy isn't too surprising. He always suspected he was more involved in his family than he would admit, considering how firm he was about not bringing them up. But Sapnap, if George is dead, then Sapnap would be by now too, right? There's no way this monster's kept him alive. The monster snorts, still facing away. Its wings block whatever it's doing for view. I kept him, it says, as if that isn't even more confusion. Alarming, even. We made up when you weren't around to fuck us both up. Plus, him and his husbands are my flock. I was going to lose them if I didn't have to. It wasn't too hard to get my family to offer them eternity. Blade's friends with Ace, and Angel and Will get how important Flock is. So that explains nothing to him. He doesn't understand anything. Anyways, what I'm saying is, I know what I owe you. The monster turns back to face him. The monster is holding a flower crown. These aren't the same ones I grew back then, obviously, the monster says, cradling the flowers almost lovingly. But I studied the revival book. I wanted to make sure I knew everything you could do before we even thought about bringing you back. I mean, I was going to let you hurt my brother again, yeah? Not in a way I couldn't fix anyway. So I tested everything in there to make sure I could heal it. He holds the crown up a little higher. And I thought, this be a good start. Dream can't look away from the flowers. He recognizes widow roses, of course, and the fear washes back away his anger completely. Tommy, he falls out. You can't. I mean, I'm gonna, it says, far too easily. And it's going to kill you. And then, when my family feels like it, I'll bring you back to get in what they owe you. Dream rips the knife out of his knee, even as it brings new pain and more blood flowing unhindered. He has to get out of here. He can't let the monster. Its foot slams down onto his bad knee, and it's only the drags of his self control that stop him from screaming. You're not going anywhere except limbo, I guess. Dream tries desperately to pull on his powers, tries to get anything to happen that would destabilize the monster, give him a chance to escape, but he's pinned. No amount of luck is enough to get him free. You know, this is the right time for me to pull all the same fucking shit you said to me the night you died. The monster's eyes glow, makes it look all the more unhinged as it grins and lowers the crown, despite how it tries to pull away. Thing is, it whispers, I don't even remember what you said, because you don't have a hold on me anymore. This, this is just for fun. The burn of withering rips into his skull and Dream only has an eternity of this to look forward to. I'm a healer, the monster tells him, unaffected as it watches his flesh burn and flake off. But I'm myself first. And there it is. That's the end of the first series. I started. It's a good one, and I'm glad I finished it. It's still a bit weird, like, this is my 50 subscriber special, and it's shorter than just regular videos I've done before. But hey, it's an extra upload, and it has a certain value of catharsis, so there you go. Yay. Like, halfway through the video, I just started to cough real loud for some reason in the middle of a sentence. Like, I didn't feel it coming. I was just, it was in the middle of the conversation between Tommy and Techno about where they eventually end with the idea of the deal. Um, and I was in the middle of the sentence, folded over, and started coughing for like half a minute. But hey, it was nothing, nothing came up, so it was probably some bowel or something that just touched the wrong part of my throat and triggered some reflex. I hope you enjoyed this. Uh, Thank you for the 50 subscribers.